You are live.
All right, guys, welcome to this Thursday night's edition of the Livewell here at Fish, North Georgia. We're so glad you guys could join us. Again, if you're watching on YouTube, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button, click that notification bell. And if you're watching at a later date, hey, we love you as well. Make sure you follow Fish North Georgia on all our social media. That's the TikTok, Instagram, all that stuff. It's at Fish North Georgia. We got an absolutely fantastic episode for you guys. Got a couple of young hammers, two of my favorite guests that come on the show. I'm glad to get them guys here together. We're going to talk a lot of stuff. Tournament Anglers Association. We're going to talk about how you catch fish right now. Some of the mistakes and things to do with forward-facing sonar. So a lot of knowledge in these two guys. Don't let their age fool you. They're very wise beyond their years. So let's go ahead and get started, knock out the business aspect of it, and let's do our sponsors. Sonar Pros, guys, if you want your boat geared up the right way, you get all this money in this sonar and you want it done and installed correctly, Trent Palmer and the guys over at Sonar Pros will do it. They do the pros boats. You might as well take it somewhere where it's done once and for all. So 770-530-4505 by appointment only. Check them guys out right there. And then our very next one is Lip Sticker Fishing, one of the best guides on Lake Lanier. You see it daily in his posts. He's putting his clients on big fish. That's what you want. If you're going to spend your money, you might as well go with one of the best. And that's Kevin Underwood and Lip Sticker Fishing. You can find him on Facebook, or you can go to www.lipstickerfishing.com. Book a trip with him today. Tell him the guys at Fish North Georgia sent you. Evolve rod sleeves. I'm telling you right now, guys, I don't know if you've used them or not. A lot of my customers have come in here and they've purchased them. The best rod sleeve on the market. It's got all the little features you want, but the best thing is you put them in your rod locker and you got all these crankbaits, a lot of treble hooks hanging off. They will not tear. They will not stick. Check them out at evolvefishing.com or come to Fish North Georgia. We got plenty of them right there. And then Festive Waters Kayaking. If you're in the paddle sport or the kayak game, off 369, them guys can set you up for whatever you want to do, whether it's fishing, whether it's just fun, floating the rivers. Festive Waters has got you set up, www.festivewaters.com. And our next, of course, great sponsor is the Money Saver Lure Retriever. Now, guys, there's a video coming out. I want you guys to see this in action. This thing comes through the water like a torpedo. If you get hung up, all these expensive crankbaits, I'm telling you what, this thing will absolutely knock it out of the park. Look forward to that video coming out on our site, too. We got them here at Fish North Georgia. Also, right behind me, you see the sign Turner Tire. Hey, if you're in the Jasper area, you need tires and stuff for your truck, car. These guys are the ones that do it. Brock's a great angler like the rest of us. You guys that do the Lake Lanier tournament scene, you know Brock. These guys will treat you like family, give you the best price. 706-253-3339. Give them a call today. And, of course, my favorite of all of them, and I love them all, but it's Etowah Mead Beer and Wine. Tonight we're doing the Sky Squirrel Sour. It's a wheat fruited sour. I know that's a lot to say. Guys, go check them out in Dahlonega in person. If you go up there in person, the Happy Camper, I'm just telling you, that's the one you want to order. That's my favorite right there. And if not, they can ship mead to you. Check them out on their website. So got a lot of guys in the comment section already here. And the question of the week tonight, we're going to give away an Evolve rod sleeve. Let me move that out of the way so you can see that fine thing right there. So that's going to be about 9 o'clock. Let me go ahead and say hello to everybody out there. Danny hooked me up with those rod sleeves. They are the real deal. I'm telling you guys, the Evolve stuff, I promise you. I can only say it so many times, but until you get one on your rod, you just don't understand. So Clint, Ian, Southern Dog, Man, Scratch Fish, and Jeremiah, hey, we love you guys. We appreciate it. And tonight, listen, if you got questions or comments for these young men, definitely bring it on. Okay, I told them tonight they got to talk. We're going to try to extract as much juice as possible from them. So to my left, a name that you guys very well know, Mr. Emil Wagner. Hey, listen, I love you, Clint. Where did you end up finishing in the TAA?
Third place.
Third place right there. Excuse me, guys. So listen, everybody knows about Emil. Fished the Red Crest. What did you finish at the Red Crest?
I got 11th. I missed that championship day by 1.5 pounds. So one more keeper would have done it. Still the fact that you got there. That's absolutely awesome. And to my right, one of my favorite guests, I'm going to start calling you Mr. Becky, but Kaz Anderson right there. Listen, I've known this kid since he was 16. Look at that beautiful face right there.
you don't get any prettier than the two guests I got on tonight. So, listen, I'm serious. I got some good-looking gentlemen right there. So, guys, if your daughters are out there, hey, hit them up. I don't know what they got.
Huh? I think you offended Kevin.
Hit Kaz up. So, you're taking. Are you spoken for right now?
Oh, yeah.
You are. Okay, so Emil's off the table, but
smart man.
Kaz,
come my way.
You're available right there.
Put his Snapchat up there.
Put his Snapchat. We'll do that. We'll get his socials and all that. So what we're going to do tonight, very simply. So we're going to spend the first few minutes. We're going to talk about the Touring Anglers Association tournament on Lake Lanier that both of these guys finished. Kaz, you finished what?
7.
So listen, I got 2 top 10 guys, top 12 is what they ended up paying. So I've got 2 guys that got to fish the final day. And what I think is really interesting, and we've been talking about it before the show, the perception out there is these young guys can't fish without forward-facing sonar. And I'm telling you, these 2 cats right here, they can do it all. They don't need it. It's a tool they use, but they don't need it to be successful. So we're going to recap that a little bit. And then we're going to get into what I told them I want to talk about tonight is, forward-facing sonar, how to use it properly, what's going on our area lakes right now, how you can use that for success, and just put more fish in your boat. And maybe we'll get into the mistakes that a lot of guys are making. And about 9 o'clock, Kevin is back there with Tim. Put your smiling face up, Tim. And then Kevin, stick your face over in that camera right there. Come on in there. So there he is. So Father Time said he's got a great question of the week. And again, we'll be giving away an Evolve rod sleeve. So, hey, listen, though, guys, seriously, if you've got questions for these 2 guys, put them on there. So good afternoon to all you guys right there. Emil's been yanking on them. Don't know what that means, but yeah, I guess you've been catching fish. But I'm going to start off with you, Tim. Emil, I'm going to start off with you since we'll give him a little grace since he finished 3rd in the tournament.
Yeah.
The Touring Anglers Association tournament, that's been about 3 weeks now. Give me your perception of the tournament format. You like it, yes or no?
Yeah, it was really fun. I mean, obviously no waypoints, no practice, and we couldn't see the lake for 2 weeks. And you pretty much, I mean, they gave us a 4-hour ride around, but you couldn't fish. So it was pretty much just a go look for bedfish for 4 hours kind of a thing.
Right.
And I went and did that and marked a bunch on bed. Like every pocket I went into, there was some, up there swimming. So I was like, this is definitely going to play. But we went, had our ride around, and then the rest of the tournament was run super smoothly. I mean, the blast off was good. Everyone had a great time at weigh-in. They had food there. The weigh-in was solid. I think his name was David Knuckles was doing the weigh-in. And I had a blast. It was really fun. You had to figure stuff out on the fly. Like I literally caught them in different places the first, the second, and the third day. And like the second day, for example, I did not have a keeper at 11 o'clock and had to just scrap everything I found and go figure something else out. But it was really fun. It's definitely, you fish more patterns than you do without. Like with forward-facing sonar, I feel like you fish more spots. And then that tournament, it was more of a pattern deal because, you couldn't see what was going on.
Right. How much did you rely on, past history?
I'd say half and half. Like there was definitely a lot of the fish I caught were on like little rock veins that I knew that they set up on, or like points that I knew they spawn on. But at the same time, like I'm thinking back to day 2, I ran some brand new water and caught them. And then even like the second day I went and bed fished and caught them, which I normally don't like to do, but there were so many on bed that I went and got a limit doing that and ended up culling all of them out. But definitely history definitely helped in that one. But there were so many bedfish up, you could kind of show up there without any history and catch them too.
So would you give a thumbs up to the Touring Anglers?
Absolutely. Yeah. Alan's an awesome guy and he's got some really cool stuff in store for the future. And it's a sweet trail. I
know. I can't wait to announce it. Now, Kaz, again, you were in there as well. Give me your perception of that tournament.
Kind of the same thing. I thought it was an absolutely phenomenally ran event. A lot of anticipation across the fishing industry for this event leading up to it. Everybody was, looking forward to seeing how this thing kind of panned out. And like you said, running patterns is something that everybody used to talk about, and it was a lot bigger deal back in the day. With forward-facing sonar, I feel like I can just launch the boat, and it's kind of, there they are. All you got to do is worry about catching them. And it's not always that easy. But for being on Lake Lanier, there's not a lot of species that aren't bass. You see fish on your graph, you just got to catch them.
Yeah.
Bait presentation and stuff like that. Whereas this tournament, so much went into play, whereas you had to find a way to get bites, generate them pretty often, and they had to be the right ones as well. And it was kind of one of those things where I just had to run around until I figured out what was going on during the tournament and what was happening. We had to be off the lake by March 17th. The tournament's the 1st of April. So there's a lot of time. This time of year, springtime, weather's changing so much.
Yeah.
So much can happen, transpire in that time. And it did ultimately. So we didn't really know what was going to go down until the morning of the tournament. I had a subpar first day and kind of dialed something in the last, 15 minutes I had to fish the first day and called up to what I had, which wasn't much, but thank goodness, it was enough to keep me in contention. But, it was just really cool to be able to, it was definitely very rewarding.
Right.
It was super exciting. Like when me and him were talking, when you got a bite, you were like, oh my gosh, don't mess this up. Don't mess this up.
Right. Yeah.
I lost so many baits. I got hung all the time. Because you would just cast it up there and you never knew, all right, I might have just thrown across the biggest brush pile in Lake Lanier.
Right.
And you just get hung after a perfectly re-rigged setup and just break it off. And it was definitely, it was really cool. It was really cool. No complaints. Payout was amazing. Looking forward to the next one.
Good. And there's going to be a next one. Absolutely, guys. And it's in the works. We'll announce here. Alan has said that when the official announcement is ready, he's going to come here on this show and do it again. Drew Johnson, I'm going to get to your question here in a second. I want to work on these guys a little bit more for a second, but I will not forget you. And I'll start with you on this, Kaz. Going into it, knowing that the tournament was going to be a little bit different, no forward-facing sonar, going back to old school fishing, did that excite you? Did it make you a little apprehensive? What were your feelings going into it?
Very excited because it was a lake that I'm super comfortable on.
Right.
But also I think the best feelings for me was nervous. And the entry fee was pretty steep.
It was.
That's a lot to lay down. I graduated college in December. It's pretty tough to lay down that.
Right.
But at the same time, I was thinking that you never know what could really happen. Everybody's got a chance to win. And I'm not going to say even playing field, but we definitely all had the same equipment on our boats. Nobody was outgunned equipment wise. You just had to go out there, read the lake. Past knowledge helped me a lot in this one. And like I said, had this tournament, been somewhere else, I would have definitely been a lot more nervous, but at the same time, I was just excited for it. Leading up to it, I pre-fished on Lake Chattooga, where I live and guide a bunch, and fished the same way I was going to have to during the tournament. Turned my graphs off, and when I did turn my graphs on, I was trying to see how fish would relate to spots, and trying to visualize where appropriate casts were to be made without forward-facing sonar.
Yeah.
And a time or two during the tournament, that helped me. Trying to figure out ways to catch them without it was challenging. And it's not that nobody can catch. It's not that you have to have it to catch bass, but the facts are that fish have changed in the last few years and bass behavior has changed as a whole. So in order to adapt to that and fish the way that we used to, they don't act the way that we used to. Just because you turn your graphs off doesn't mean you can fish the way that you used to and still get bites.
Right.
It's the exact opposite for the most part. It's really, it's different.
Okay.
So, and learning and adapting to that. And, and since that tournament, I've found personally for me, I've not been, I used to go out and when I would fun fish, I would go out and just stare at my graph the entire time. And now, it depends on the day, obviously, but you feel a lot more comfortable without it. And I feel like a lot of people became better anglers, well-versed anglers because of this tournament. You're not afraid to move and go try a different pattern on Lake Lanier.
Yeah.
So it benefited me all around.
That's good. That's pretty cool. Cool to hear. Now, Emil, I do have a question I'm going to get to, but how you're getting to the point now, especially with the red crest and all that, you're fishing around some big name guys. And there were some big name, names coming into this tournament. You got Gussie, you got the Johnston brothers, a lot of great anglers, Cifuentes, and I could keep naming them. How did it feel going into the tournament, knowing these pros were going to show up
Right.
Did you feel like because you knew Lake Lanier a little bit better, that was one of your home lakes, that you had an advantage? Or was it like, hey, they're pros, they're going to catch fish no matter where they're at?
I think had it been pretty much any time of year except for March or April, there would have been a lot more local advantage play. But there was so many fish on the bed. A bunch of guys caught them. Like, I know a couple guys caught them on like a glide bait, just fishing around docks, throwing a wacky worm. I think David, forgetting his last name,
Williams.
David Williams caught several on a buzzbait and a jig. There were so many fish just up shallow, which happens every April, that honestly, you could make an argument for not being a local being a bigger advantage in that tournament. Not saying it didn't help me a bunch, but like if I were to go somewhere like, I don't know, I'm trying to think of somewhere I haven't, fished much, and if all the fish were on bed, in a way I have a bigger advantage because I'm not worried about hitting all these pre-spawn places or post-spawn places that I know because of history. So I wasn't really nervous either. I mean, I think even when I went and did like my first Toyotas last year, for whatever reason, I thought I'd be really nervous fishing around those guys, but like you just kind of show up and it feels like any other tournament.
I like that. I like that answer. Now let's pop Drew Johnson's question real quick before he scrolls off the screen. I'm fishing shallow reeds in Illinois this weekend. Fish are pre-spawn and spawning. We have 20-mile-per-hour winds, which that's Illinois. It's windy up there all the time, and rain. Would you still flip the shallow reeds or throw moving baits? Either one of you guys. That's in Illinois. I know that's a little bit out of your comfort zone. Yeah. But given what he just said, with the conditions, what would you do?
I mean, if you have wind and rain, it'd be hard not to go towards something like a moving bait, because even there's times when they're spawning, if you get those kind of conditions, you can throw at them and catch spawning fish pretty quick because they're not nearly as weary. So something like a frog or a chatterbait would probably be something I'd try. A bedfish will eat a frog a lot if you stay way off of them.
Really?
So you can even go through an area you think they might be bedding, and if you get a bunch of bites on a chatterbait or something, you can go back through and flip it. But I guess it kind of depends what lake you're on.
Right. What about you, Cash? You got something to add?
100% start off with a moving bait. That just sounds like moving bait conditions to me. But like you said, I've been in scenarios fishing shallow reeds before where the flipping bite's amazing when it's, calm. And like in Florida, it's calm and the water's super shallow. The fish are on bed. They don't have to travel a long ways to get a moving bait. So in a scenario like this, you can catch them spinnerbaiting or chatterbaiting or something like that. And like you said, get a few bites, locate a few fish, go back through there and flip. That'd be the way I'd approach it.
All right. So, Drew, appreciate your question. I'm going to stick on the TAA for a while. And, Emil, I'm going to throw this at you. And it has to do with Kevin's question, too. It said, watching the weigh-in, it appeared that the fish we saw were all spots. Is that correct? Now, there was a lot of largemouth weighed in, but you concentrated mostly – you were targeting spotted bass.
Yep.
So what went into that decision?
I mean, again, like I said, if I wasn't a local, I probably would have put all my eggs in the bed fishing basket. People don't realize, like, that event was literally the craziest wave of spawning fish I've ever seen on Lanier.
Undoubtedly.
Like it seemed like half of the largemouth on the lake pulled up, and there was big ones everywhere. Not saying they were easy to catch by any means, but I couldn't go out on a lake I know that much and like that much and fish for largemouth. I like bed fishing, but it's not something I really enjoy doing in tournaments. It stresses me out, and the whole time I'm doing it, I'm just thinking about fish I could be catching out in the lake. So I weighed in 14 of my 15 fish were spots. The second day of the event, I had one. It was my smallest one, was a 3 1/4 largemouth. And I had a 3-3 spot that it called. I almost wish I would have weighted it instead.
Just have all spots.
Right, just have all spots. But yeah, all my weight was spotted bass I caught fishing. Some of them could have been spawning for sure. I think the first day I caught a 5-3 and a 4-11 on back-to-back casts, and I think they were on bed together. I could be wrong, but it set up perfect for it. But yeah, they were all spots.
So what I found curious is it seemed like the pros that came in, they were concentrating 100% on bedfish. They didn't know the lake like you guys did. You stayed off doing something similar to what you normally do.
Kind of, yeah.
Kind of. I mean, give or take a little bit.
Yeah.
I had talked to several guys right before that tournament, and a lot of people didn't realize or hadn't seen any really bedding fish. And it's kind of going to what you just said. All of a sudden, it seemed like on that Monday or that Tuesday, they were just there. So when you saw that in your mind, did it change your approach at all, knowing that they were there? You just said, hey, I've got a plan. I'm going to stick with it.
No, like in that ride around, I went and looked for them, and pretty much most all the ones I found were pretty small, like, maybe 3.5 pounds, like something I felt like wasn't worth my time because I could catch a spotted bass that big just fishing. Right. But there was one place I went in that had some really big ones, including the first day I foul hooked one close to 6. And if you foul hook one, you can't weigh them in. So
being honest, I appreciate it.
That would have been huge. But other than that one pocket, and I went in it the first day and the second day, other than that one, no, it was not part of my game plan because I knew everyone would be doing it. And again, I don't really love doing it in tournaments. I think it's fun when you're fun fishing, but it's not my deal.
It's not your deal. Okay, Cass, same thing to you. Going into it, they had what, a 2-week off period?
2 or 3
2 or 3 weeks. I know a lot of guys went to Chattooga, went to Hartwell, trying to recreate, figuring out whatever's working on those lakes will work on Lake Lanier.
Yeah.
So tell me, in your preparation for the tournament, what did you do to kind of get your mindset right to fish Lake Lanier?
So Chattooga is a little bit higher elevation, so where I live. So I would go out there and kind of see I knew that bed fishing was going to be a huge deal.
You really thought it would be? Seriously?
I figured with the warming trend, and it's just April, there's going to be bass on the bed. When we showed up to the ride around wearing shorts and flip-flops, they were going to be on bed.
I got you.
So, I mean, we all kind of had that feeling. And, that opens up so many different ways to catch fish. But I just kind of kept an eye on Chattooga, looking to see how the largemouth were making a move up there, if they were pushing up under docks, if they were pulling up on the bed. Because I always know Lanier is a little bit ahead of what Chattooga is normally. It's a little bit further south.
Right.
So I could see if they were starting to pull up, if they were really close. I figured they probably were on bed at Lanier by now. And that was kind of just the way I approached it. I figured, going into the tournament, spotted bass fishing was the way I ended up fishing was not how I thought I was going to catch my fish.
How did you think you were going to catch your fish?
I was looking for more of a herring spawn bite. Personally, I figured that was going to happen a lot more than what it's supposed to.
I'm sorry. Listen, Tim Hawkins just put in a comment. Finally, that stash is growing in for Cass. Dude, Tim, he's been working on this stash for a while now.
Dude, it's been half a year. No,
I love it.
Yeah, so I was thinking a herring spawn deal was going down, and him and I were talking about it back and forth.
Yeah.
We were planning on literally fishing a lot of the same spots. And the last day of the ride-around period, I was getting bit in places that were setting up perfect for the herring spawn.
Right.
Just knew that it was going to go down. And in the tournament, it had gotten warmer. I'm thinking, all right, this is getting better. It should be just automatic. Let's go find some bedfish, catch them on day one, sack up a big bag the rest of the tournament. Free and easy. Going to be able to fish these spots, catch them a bunch of different ways. No scope needed. We're all good. I was so wrong.
Right.
So wrong.
Right.
So wrong. And, and that the first day of the tournament rolling up, caught the bedfish that I had found, like Emil, I didn't really ever find many big ones. I caught a 4-pounder the first day. Instantly, the ones that I found weren't hard to catch. They just weren't very big. And I personally underestimated the weights. I underestimated what it was going to take to do well in the tournament.
Yeah.
I think that, I was thinking that 16 to 17 pounds a day would make you in the top 12 cut, when that would have probably had you just out or barely in maybe. And I figured that would have, you'd have been able to be comfortable with that.
Right.
And towards the end of the first day, whenever I saw the herring spawn not happening and I went down the lake and started catching them the way I did the second 2 days, I figured, all right, I might be in trouble. And I was. And luckily got to rebound. But in preparation process, I didn't try to focus a lot on spotted bass. I tried to focus on how I could show up and make the best judgment call on where to look on the lake for the biggest wave of bedfish that was pushing up.
Right. So both of you can answer this question. I know when Tim and I were there, we took the day one and kind of were looking at the day two weights, and we were trying to guess on what the cut line would be. And so taking the day one, Chris Johnson, all that, we said, and the average of the top 12, we figured, what was it, Tim? 36 pounds, we guessed. Wasn't that about right?
You were somewhere in the 36-pound mark, and you pretty much spot on.
Yeah, 36 pounds. We figured, okay, 36 pounds would get you into the final day. So I want to know, because you guys actually fished it, in your mind, what were you thinking? Emil, we'll start off with you. What were you thinking? I've got to have this at the end of day 2 to get to the final day. What was your, poundage?
Right. Yeah, I was way off. I figured I didn't realize as many largemouth were going to be caught and weighed in as there was. Like, it was truly insane. I've never seen anything like it. But I figured, honestly, 17 a day, you were in there pretty easily, maybe a pound less than that. So, like,
about 33
to 35 pounds, somewhere in there. And clearly that wasn't the case. I think it took, 18 a day, maybe a hair more?
Pretty much, yeah.
And that's kind of what I was expecting. And then 19 a day to win it. I thought surely if you caught 20 a day, you'd be walking away with it. But 8-pounders will do that to you. So.
That's what we were thinking. We were like, okay, I think Tim, and Tim Mike can correct me. It's been 3 weeks and I'm old and I forget. But I think we took the day 1 weight of the 12th place. Wasn't it that, Tim? We said the 12th place was right around.
Yeah, you took 12 and started working from there.
And then I deducted 2 pounds because the weather was going to change. So I figured that. So, but you were thinking 33, 34. Right. What were you thinking, Cass?
Same. My preterm 34 pounds.
34
if
pounds.
I was just an exact number, I said 34 pounds.
Okay, so that it's interesting. And the fact that both of you guys are talking about it, again, I knew some guys that had fished Lake Lanier going into that tournament. I had been on it a week before. Nobody was seeing bedfish. And so we as a crew, when we were there doing the podcast, we figured spotted bass is going to rule. We had no idea that the largemouth were just going to slam up. Either one of you guys can answer this question. Did that catch you by surprise?
No, just not because of the time of year, but weight-wise, yes. I figured people would be catching some bedfish and some largemouth. Because when you take forward-facing sonar out of the equation, people are more apt to go to the bank and fish docks and blowdowns and run up the river and do different things, that are going to lead to catching more largemouth. And but I did not think it was going to be anywhere near what it was. What's up?
So he's laughing because Emil Contrail put never met someone.
There's no way. That's
never
real.
met. I guess he met someone with the same name as me. So, hey, listen. This guy's going places, buddy. So it's a good thing. Now, David Aldridge, I don't know who that guy is. Let me look behind me. It's got to be Will or something. He's got a good he's got a good question right here. And either one of you guys can answer this. Do you think the spots would have played a bigger role with a larger field to spread the largemouths out between more anglers? And again, Alan's goal was 200 anglers. Of course, that didn't happen because a lot of you guys said you were going to fish it and then you didn't. You should have. But do you think had there been a full 200 boat field, would spotted bass have made a much larger difference in the outcome?
Yeah, I think it would have changed it a little bit, but still there was probably so many bedfish that a bunch of those guys would have still caught them. I mean, there's a lot of water on that lake to look at and a lot of places to catch bedfish. So I think it maybe would have helped us a hair because, I mean, I was saying it was a 50-boat tournament and all the guys that you're, I guess you could say, worried about losing to or whatever, the ones you're like, that's the guy to beat, they were all there. So
yeah,
it was, I don't know. If there was more boats, it maybe would have helped us, but.
What do you think, Cass?
I mean, like you said, Lanier's huge. They were bedding, and it wasn't like all the bedfish were in like one small section of the lake. Like people were catching them all over the place. So I think that, it maybe helped a tad, but not enough to. Largemouth would. I think the outcome would have been almost near the same.
Okay. The last day, it finally got to them. I think wasn't it super cold the last morning?
The last
super
morning
cold,
it was cold, a lot of wind.
You could see almost. I think every single guy dropped off except David Williams.
Most people weighed 14
to 16.
You had a good day the last day. David Williams had a good day the last day. But, let's just take the leader, Chris Johnson. He had 24-something. And the last day he had 15, 16. So it dropped off.
Pretty much all the bed fishing guys did.
Okay, so let me ask you guys this. Normally, and this is what I've heard with this tournament, when you talk bedding bass on Lake Lanier, it seems like everybody that comes in and talks about starts at the north end of the lake, works its way south. A lot of guys I've talked to that fished the tournament said basically this year, Browns Bridge was the epicenter of the bedding bass, and it moved different. So it was a little bit different than what guys are accustomed to. When you guys went into this tournament, did you have an idea, and either one of you guys can answer, as to if I'm going to search for bedding bass it's going to be the north end, the mid lake, or south end. Did you have a plan going in, Kaz? You can jump in on that first.
I had a plan just to look for bedfish. If I was going to catch bedfish, they were going to be, close to Browns Bridge and south, because I always fish the lower end of the lake for the most part, and I didn't want to spread myself too thin.
Gotcha.
That was my plan. I didn't want to be running around, I got these bedfish, way up here. I got my other fish way down here. I didn't want to be running around, so I wanted to have them both close by.
But you hadn't been on the lake for 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Did you have an area that you figured, hey, this is historically a good spot for bedfish in your mind? And I want you to answer that too, Emil, when I get to you.
I mean, I know places where, good pockets for fish to spawn.
Yeah.
But as far as like certain parts of the lake going off at certain times, I agree with the up north and trickles down statement.
Yeah.
But I wasn't really trying to think about that. And if there was a big wave of spawning fish up north, I had just already ruled it out in my mind that I wasn't really going to go after them.
Okay.
Because I wanted to stay down to where the area of the lake I knew the best. When all my equipment and everything is limited, I didn't want to have limited options, was my look going into the tournament.
Okay. All right. Absolutely. What about you, Emil? Did you have a plan? Like, I know this place.
Yeah.
Just say, and I'm just going to throw a name out, and I know this has nothing to do with, you say the Little Hall area. I know historically fish are bedding. Did you kind of have that in your mind going in?
I'm with Kaz. Like I hardly ever fish up north on the lake, at least not above like Gainesville. So I had some pockets down the lake in mind that when they spawn in, that's usually where it goes down. And there's usually some big ones. And there's one in particular. It's a pretty big little deal, and it's got 2 arms. I ran in there and I seen one boat in one of the arms and another one running in the other one.
Right.
And I was like, I don't want any part of this. And I ran across the lake, behind in another little place I like. That's where I found those ones that I ended up fishing for. Checked 2 or 3 more, and like it just didn't really seem like it was happening. I went just a hair above the bridge, and they were everywhere. But most of them were, again, 2 to 3 pounders. I'm sure there was big ones. And then looked in there, marked a bunch, but I was like, these just aren't worth wasting my time, unless crap hits the fan and you have to go catch them later in the day.
You can say shit. It's
yeah.
okay.
And then we were running up. Yeah. We had a little bit of time left, and I'm running up the lake to get back in for the ride around. And I had like 15 minutes, and I wasn't going to leave anything out there. So I went into some pockets on the north end, and I found 2 pretty good ones. Like they both looked close to 4 pounds, and I never even went and checked them. Cause like Kaz said, if you go down the lake and try to fish and then run 30 minutes up and try to catch these 2 bedfish and then back down, I'm not saying it can't work out on a perfect day, but generally speaking, that's not the recipe to have a good tournament.
I got you. So Jeremiah wants to know what the biggest fish was. The biggest fish caught, was it 8.4?
Yeah, I think there was Jared Littner had
one
almost close to 8.
So bad for that guy.
There was 2 almost 8 pounders.
Here's what I felt bad for. So day 1, Chris Johnson weighed in 7.4. And then Littner come up and he weighed like, what was it, 7.9, something right in there. And I'm like, Tim and I were talking, we're doing the podcast there. And I'm like,
it was skinny too. It had the frame of like an 11.
Oh, for sure.
It was huge.
It definitely a post spawn seemed kind of.
He caught it on bed, but it had already
done its deal.
Bullets.
So we were like, that's a $5,000 fish. And then 2 or 3, 4, anglers weighed in later, and Chris Johnson brings in that 8.4.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there thinking, like, as much as an impressive fish as that was, I felt bad for Littner because that's a $5,000 fish that just got yanked out because they did the big fish on day 2 instead of day 3. So, real quick, as far as bedding fish goes, and Emil, I'll start with you. Did you have a specific technique that you said, okay, if I see a bedding fish, this is what I'm going to do? Or did you do the standard, throw something white in the bed, noodle it around, or did you try something a little bit different?
So usually for me, it's a 3/8 ounce Texas rig with a compact white craw of some sort, which is pretty standard. However, the ones I fished for this time around were honestly a little bit tricky for whatever reason. So I'd take a wacky worm back way off and throw that at them first. And the second day when I ended up catching bedfish, that's how I caught, I think 3 of them that I caught my first 3 keepers. And then the biggest one I caught, that 3 1/4, I stayed way off of it. I threw the wacky and it just wouldn't react to it. You had to piss it off. So I did that 3/8 ounce white craw and I just kept hitting it in the head over and over. It wouldn't react to that. So I put a fluke on it and it like glid sideways through the bed, and it was like I'd been fishing for it for 25 minutes, and it was driving me nuts because I'm like, I still only don't have crap, and I was like, I want to go fish. And I put that fluke on, and it was like, bam, I got him to bite it twice, nip it, and then caught it really quick. So I'd say a wacky worm, a drop shot, a Texas rig, and sometimes I'll throw like like a mag draft style or a coal shad or a jerk bait in there, not to like snag them or do anything weird, but to freak them out and get them fired up. Like we did that on Hartwell. I was guiding there all week before the tournament just to get ready and whatnot. And we bed fished a bunch, with clients, and they'd be throwing their worm up there. And sometimes I'd be like, all right, leave it out. And I'd throw a jerk bait in there and just rip it through their bed, and it would get them just really feisty. And then they'd flip back in there and
fired them up. All right. What about you, Kaz, on the same thing? Like as far as bedding fish,
yeah.
How did you target those?
I don't have a whole lot of different arrays of baits that I like to use. I pretty much throw that power bait gilly is like my favorite.
And you put a video out.
I think it's legit.
It is legit. Guys, you need to check out Kaz. He put a video out, and I don't mean to interrupt him, but that Berkeley gilly and to use the bluegill.
Yeah, just any of the HD colors.
Dude, I'm telling you, that right there is that's legit. That's a legit bait.
There's only so many like realistic baits in the bass fishing world that actually work.
And that's one of them.
This is one of them. And I put it on a shaky head because it stands up. The Fusion shaky head is the one I put it on. And like Emil and I were talking about earlier, like no sponsor plug, like not trying to sell something, but I literally, when I'm bed fishing, I have a wacky rig general to make a long cast. If I know one's there, I try to stay way back off, make long cast up towards the bed. And I don't do that for a long period of time. Like if it's there and if I don't have to fool with it to make it bite, it's going to bite it within the first 2 casts if you get it in there.
Yeah.
And I sit up. I don't like white baits that often. I hardly ever throw anything white.
Me neither.
I try to stay pretty natural. And if they don't, a lot of the times, like today in the last 2 days, the gilly worked. That's what I caught all my bed fish on in the tournament was the gilly. But this week, another tactic is a drop shot in a bed. A lot of the times when they're super deep like that, the fish don't like to sit on the bottom in the bed. Like they'll sit up. And a lot of the times when I'd have my gilly in the bed, they would go swimming over it. And I would be like, oh, she's in the bed. She's in the bed. I'd be shaking it. And she would literally swim like right over top of it. And like you couldn't hit her or anything. So I'd take a drop shot with like a 6 or 7 inch leader up above it and put just a little hit worm or a little tiny fluke style bait on it of some kind and just wiggle it in front of their face, and they'll usually bite that. But the gilly is like my bread and butter. If I'm going strictly sight fishing, that's it. Yeah,
no Alka-Seltzer, absolutely. I don't think guys, and I know both you guys are affiliated with Berkeley, right? Mm-hmm. Right? You're correct. I'm not. But that gilly, there's something about that. That is the most realistic.
It's crazy.
Realistic brim, copy, whatever you want to call it, that's out there.
Mm-hmm.
And it's legit. I'm just telling you guys. And I'm sure it works year round in other aspects, but that right there was legit. Derek White says should have a no bed fish forward facing sonar tournament same time next year. Listen, and you're right. I do think that the perception, and I want your guys' comments on this. I saw a lot of comments in whether it was on our page or other pages where guys were like, yeah, they don't need forward-facing sonar because it's just a bed fishing tournament. The reason this tournament happened where it landed where it was because of schedules with pros and all that. And they're going to have, trust me, I already know about the next tournament. It's definitely not going to be that. We're going to announce it when all the fine points get figured out. So, but it isn't a plan. But what do you think about that, Emil, when somebody says, okay, they're not using forward-facing sonar, it's just a bed tournament? Because both of you guys targeted spotted bass that were not on the bank. You guys were fishing a little bit deeper. I know Cifuentes, when he fished, he wasn't casting so much to the bank.
Cifuentes, and Gussie were the only 4, I think, that weren't relying on bed fish. And
you were able to be competitive in the tournament knowing that. But what do you think when a guy – let's just take anything, because I really love the TAA. I love what Alan is doing. I love the format. I love what he's going for. What are y'all laughing at?
This Emil guy is just going off.
That Emil guy. Listen, Emil, hey, listen, we love your name, dude. We love your name, and I'm glad you're here.
It's powerful.
Yeah, listen, Emil's a great name. One of my favorite guys that's on the show. He's right here to my left, so it's a cool name. Glad you got the same name. What do you guys think? We talked about this before the episode. And again, guys, if you're ever up here on a Thursday night, I'm telling you, if you'll get here an hour before the show and just hang out, that's when some really good conversations happen. But one of the things we talked about is the perception of the young anglers today. And Emil, you mentioned the age of 30 and under. A lot of guys, especially the old timers, and I'm not going to call out Randy Blockett or any of that. It's nothing like that. But a lot of the perception is if you're 30 years or younger, you can't fish without forward-facing sonar. You guys definitely can. I knew that before even all this happened. But when you see somebody in the comment section, Emil, that says, it's just a bed fishing tournament, it doesn't make a difference. In your mind, what does that make you feel like as far as like if you could say something to that individual, what would you say? Well,
obviously for me and Kaz, it'd be an easier response because we didn't catch them bed fishing. So it doesn't matter to us.
Exactly.
And,
yeah.
I mean, I'd be lying if I said I wish they weren't on bed because it would have helped us that much more. I think it would have been catching 20 a day when they're not on bed without forward-facing sonar with the way fish act now. I mean, I didn't think I could do it, to be totally honest with you. I was amazed with, the fact that I had that. I figured 17, 18 a day. And like Kaz alluded to earlier, these fish act nothing like they used to. I know some guys were these locals are going to have all these brush piles to go to. I didn't target a brush pile the entire tournament except one because it's set up a certain way that made sense. Because these fish now, everybody throws at them. Everyone gets close to them. It used to be they didn't see bait, so you could throw something kind of, a little bit off of them that wasn't perfect, and they'd just come over and eat it because they didn't get fished for all the time. Now they get fished for 24/7, so it's without forward-facing sonar, that's a tough feat. But that was kind of a tangent off your question.
No, go ahead, buddy. I like it.
But no, the bed fishing thing, I don't know. People I'm not going to complain about it. I mean, we had a no forward-facing sonar tournament. It was a great tournament, and again, people still found something wrong with it. And it's at the end of the day, I've started to realize Corey Johnston just won the elite event, and he was sight fishing a bunch of them and maybe weighed 2 or 3 on perspective mode, and everyone focused on that. It's people are just looking for things to complain about, whereas if we just looked at all the great things that are going on in fishing, I feel everything would be in a way better place.
That is so spot on because, especially on Lake Lanier, for you guys that fish Lake Lanier, there is always something to bitch about with these guys. They're going to find something. Yeah. It doesn't matter what you do.
And if it was during the summer, it'd be, the locals knew all the brush piles. You know what I mean? It's always
100%.
Nobody's ever going to win.
It infuriates me. And I told you guys both before the tournament, guys come in the shop and they don't do nothing but gripe about these young guys and say they can't fish without forward-facing sonar. I'm like, you guys really have no idea. When you get to a certain level, and either one of you guys can chime in on this if you want to, you can fish or you can't fish. You don't get to the pro level forward-facing sonar only. Right. You know how to fish. You know how to read a topo map. You know what the patterns are, the history of a lake. There's so much going into it, but the perception is these days that y'all guys can't do it. You guys, how old are you, Emil?
I just turned 26.
26, and you're 22.
Yeah.
The perception is that a 22-year-old guy, 26-year-old guy, they can't do it. Does that give you any extra motivation when you get an opportunity like this?
Yeah, I mean, we'd talked about it before, when a lot of people that do good that normally, I don't know.
If you're under 30 and you catch them.
Yeah, I don't like to sit back and think that people have a perception about the way I fish.
But you know it's there.
Yeah, I do feel like sometimes, but I don't sit back and wonder at night, I wonder what this guy's thinking. If I catch him, he probably thinks we caught him scoping. I don't lose sleep over that. But
good for you.
The thing is, for me, we definitely thought that it would be cool if we did come in and do good. And I was worried, personally, for bass fishing as a whole, if somebody that's known, if a bunch of the older guys and a bunch of people, and this may sound bad,
No, go
but
ahead.
a bunch of the old guys, if a bunch of the older fellas came in there and just did good and just cleaned house, and none of us did good, it wouldn't have helped. It wouldn't have helped, but it didn't happen. So
it didn't happen.
So, but like, and that's not to say like I'm not, it's not like teams, It seems that way, but it's not. I'm not sitting here saying like, oh, scopers this and bed fishing this and nobody this. We don't care. I don't look. No, like
right.
You have to catch fish and you do whatever you have to do to win. People are talking about like limiting stuff, banning stuff. It's never getting banned. I don't care who says it. It's never getting banned. This tournament was awesome because now there's something for everybody. If somebody wants to fish a tournament, high stakes, no forward-facing sonar, that's great. If you think for 1 second that many of those pros there were against live scope, you are crazy.
They all love it.
Anybody who loves bass fishing loves live scope.
Yes.
Because you will catch the heck out of them when you have it and are good at using it. Transducer limits, hoopla. Give a guy 7 Koi Vegeta, give him 25 transducers or give him 1, he's still going to kick everybody's hind end with live scope.
That's right.
100%. It's just if you are good with it, it doesn't matter what you have, and everybody has the same capabilities to be talented at using it. It's just another tool. And, it's blown out of proportion, and it's definitely just another topic that people are using to get a few extra subscribers.
They do.
That's it.
I'm glad you said that. And again, I am not picking on Randy Blockett at all. I'm not picking on him, but you're
about to vapor lock Dave back there on this.
Listen,
Look at him.
but Randy, good dude. I understand he's got great intentions, but he lives and dies by right now, currently on his YouTube channel, by the forward-facing sonar drama. And what you just said is right. It's extra clicks, it's clickbait, it's stuff like that. There was a question up above. Pull that up. Go up a couple from what we got. Drew Johnson wanted to know, and both you guys can answer this. What size gilly?
It's the smallest one they make is the one I like.
What is that? Like a
It's probably about 2 inches long. Not much at all. It's pretty small.
But
it's lifelike. I don't know the number of it. Is what I'm saying. It's the lifelike profile of a brim that a bass would actually eat.
So let me ask you this: we're talking about gillies right now with the bed fishing. Is that a bait you can use year round?
Oh yeah, skipping docks with it. When we were in the prototype testing phase of that bait, you hook it through the side on a weightless EWG hook on the bigger size gillies. You hook it through the side, and I only use those HD colors. They're realistic.
High def.
Yes, exactly. Absolutely. So I hook it through the side, and it literally swims upright, just perfect. And you can skip it under docks and wind it out. And we caught a bunch of fish up on Lake Notley skipping it under those marinas.
I'll never forget that.
Yeah, that was.
I will never forget me and Kaz.
You can put it on a buzzbait too.
You can put it on buzzbait.
Yeah.
Whoa, that's a little bit of
just
juice.
like a horny toad, like a bulkier bait. It skips really good. You can do a lot with it.
Okay. Kaz and I fished on Notley. I'll never forget till the day I die. Kaz threw a jig up under a dock, and you were reeling it out, and all of a sudden that big girl followed it out, and then you just killed it. Oh my goodness, that was funny.
Got your face.
I laugh every time thinking about watching you walk around that boat going, oh, it's a big and all that. That was great. So Michael Temples has a comment. I heard Emil was catching fish 50 to 90 foot during that tournament. I don't know about Emil. We're going to ask him that in a second. I know Jason Johnson, and you guys from FLW days, great local angler, finally getting back in. I'm so glad he's gotten back into fishing. Did you fish that deep? I know Jason said he was, because I heard him at the weigh-in talking about it.
Right.
He was trying to target those deep fish. At any time during this tournament, did you think, hey, timber or anything like that, deep fish?
No, I did catch some that deep, but they were on seawalls. And that didn't happen the first day. They were all on a Berkeley General on a 3/16 shaky head, fishing, little rock veins,
wacky
shallow
rig?
No, on a shaky head.
On shaky head.
Yep.
On shaky. Okay.
Yep. Places they spawn, stuff like that. But the second day, like I said, I was struggling, and I caught some on it the third day too, fishing seawalls. And I mean, they're anywhere from 40 to 200 feet deep, but the fish are in less than 10. So I wasn't targeting fish on the bottom in timber or anything, but Okay. All right. That makes sense. Pull up old Scott Barnes, the mayor, right there.
For you guys that are out of state, anything, Scott runs probably the best tournament trail year round on Lake Lanier. Both of you guys did great. Super proud of you both. I will have a no forward-facing sonar tournament in the winter. Great time to gauge the weights and skills of everyone fishing with no forward-facing sonar. And that's the thing, Scott, and I agree with that is, especially with this next TAA tournament, it's not going to be a bed fishing tournament. And so as Alan gets this going on a national level, you're going to see the skill set of the anglers really shine because they're not going to be able to target bed fish. But kudos to you. Lake Lanier is going, Scott runs that tournament trail on Lake Lanier, and he's going to implement that because the format's really cool and do a few tournaments a year on that. What do you think about that, Emil, as far as like Alan has put out, Alan Brooks is who we're talking about, Tournament Anglers Association. He's put out something different, and now people are seeing it in play. They saw the tournament. They saw what happened. They're getting excited. A lot of griping about forward-facing sonar in the pro ranks. And again, like Cass said, it's not going to go away. But on a local level, what do you think about, doing something like that on Lanier, Allatoona, those lakes like that?
Yeah. So, again, I think when you take it away, it definitely changes your mindset. It changes the type or the way you fish. I think it's more pattern-oriented versus spot-oriented, like we said earlier. And it honestly just requires a whole different game plan. And I think there's a place in fishing for tournaments without it and tournaments with it. Because, I've touched on it this winter. We had it on our boat, and I think half the tournaments, half the fish we weighed were in less than 10 foot, not using it anyway.
That's
so it's
right.
like, even when you have it, you're not always using it. But I think it's cool that there's going to be, I don't think Alan's goal, not to speak for him, is to compete with Bass or MLF. He just wants another trail. So I think it's cool to have an option to go fish without it, or an option, because it's cool knowing that there's nobody else that has it. So that you don't have to even target, fish that, like, for example, fish we catch on a Demiki rig in open water. Those are legitimately fish that you aren't catching before forward-facing sonar.
100%. Yeah.
You can let those fish, go out of your mind, and you can just target, other stuff without thinking about that. So yeah, I love it. I think it's cool. I love using it more than anything, and I love the TAA not having it. It was a nice change of pace.
It is, and that's what it is.
Like I said, I'll show up either way. I think it's fun.
I can't wait to cover the next one. You guys are going to be there. Pull up old J.R. Mitchell right there. One of the things I like about this show more than anything is when we get someone that's not in the North Georgia area that watches. Smith Mountain Lake, Virginia here. Buddy, listen, J.R. Mitchell, I appreciate you guys. This show is freaking awesome. That's exactly right. We are awesome. Usually listen in my truck, first time watching live. Anyone ever tell you like Aaron Lewis from Stained? Had to do a double take. You guys know Stained? That's a new band. I don't know them. You know Stained?
I don't know.
I'll look them up.
Listen, I am from the 80s. I grew up. Van Halen is the king. That is the best. But hey, if he's a good looking dude, I appreciate it.
Halen or Hagar?
Huh?
Halen or Hagar?
Oh,
it don't matter.
Talking about you.
Oh my God, he is. Look, he just pulled up a picture of it. Well, listen, thank you. I guess that's a compliment. The proper answer to any Van Halen question is Eddie. Eddie was there. If Eddie Van Halen's there, of course, bless his heart, he's upstairs now. But the proper answer to any question is Eddie. It don't matter who's the singer.
That's right.
Proper answer is Eddie. But again,
JR, you're spot on with Aaron Lewis. He does look like him.
Do I look like him?
You do, and he's a good guy.
Is he a good guy? Well, there you go. Stained right there. I actually have to go listen to some of their music.
We'll crank some of that up here in the shop.
Will we do it? I'll do it. I'll check it out. So J.R. Mitchell, seriously though, you're from Virginia. You're kind of a Yankee to us. We love our Yankee friends right there. Anything above Dahlonega, Georgia is a Yankee to me. So, but again, love you. As long as you eat grits, we're good to go. So appreciate you that. Jared Page wants to know, question for Emil right here. Do you like throwing that buzz bait way up the river?
Yeah, he's trolling. That's my buddy Jared. We fished together in college. We had this joke, like if you're not on anything or you can't catch them, you just go up the river. And this way he'd say,
throw a buzz bait. Throw a buzz bait. But listen, I'll tell you what now, the buzz bait, it's not sexy anymore compared to all the other stuff.
I still throw it.
I throw it.
Buzz bait?
Buzz bait.
That's awesome.
In the fall especially.
We got a video coming out. Jonathan Farmer actually came into the shop this morning. We're talking about the best baits for May. And one of the things he talked about is a buzz bait, the first couple hours of the day.
Yeah.
Till the sun gets up. Even on Lake Lanier, it doesn't matter. I'm going to ask you both these questions. Favorite color buzz bait? You fish Chattooga a lot.
Yeah.
If you're going to throw one on Chattooga, what are you throwing?
I like one with just a black toad on the back of it with a black blade.
Black.
I throw white or black.
But you like black.
I like black buzz baits for the most part. Yeah. They bite it pretty good. It's more like shad spawn this time of year. White's a huge deal. But in the summertime, dirty water, clear water, a black buzz bait is hard to beat.
Okay. All right. Cam wants to know, do we carry the gillies? I do have a few in stock. I'm going to get some more. What about you, Emil? Buzz bait, what color you throw?
I always throw white, 90%.
You're a white.
Yeah, white with a silver blade. I take the skirt off and put a trailer on it. And that varies depending on late in the fall, they get on those really tiny baits. So you can put like a little 3-inch swim bait on the back.
Yeah.
And then if they're eating big bluegill up there, something bigger like a gilly or a toad style bait.
I got a buddy, Andy Middleton, that if you guys are in the kayak world, he's really good. He said there's only two color buzz baits, and that's black and black. And he fishes a lot of rivers, so black is possible. One of the best ones. Let's see, Scott Barnes there, the mayor. Scott, I love you, dude. You know that. If you were fishing a 3-day tournament on Lanier and whacked them the first 2 days scoping, and the third day your scope went out at takeoff, would you feel you would have a harder time on day 3? Would it rattle you? Emil, I'll let you start with that. Like, you've used it the first 2 days, and now all of a sudden it's just off. It's not working.
I think just about any of us on Lake Lanier, if we were in a 3-day tournament and it was allowed and that thing went out the third day, odds are.
Yeah.
Because like I said, even in a wintertime tournament, we catch a lot of them shallow, but like you might catch 3 on the bank and then you scope 2 of them out of some timber. So
yes,
I'd be lying. Yeah. If that thing went out on day 3, I'd probably go get it fixed till I could be back out.
Little spinning out. What about you, Kaz?
100%. I'd be ready. I'd be going somewhere, borrowing a boat, doing something.
Because you've been in that tournament for 2 days knowing that it's legal.
And everybody else has it.
Yeah.
You'd be at a major disadvantage.
Yes, I like
just
that.
like if my map went out. If your map goes out, you're in trouble. Any really important tool in fishing, your trolling motor, your Lake Master, your line
I
scope.
got it. I get it. Clint Bartlett right there. Clint, again, love you too, buddy, right there. So, Danny, if you could choose a state to go to for the Real American Road Trip, which, guys, you need to check out on Waypoint TV. Season 2 is coming out. If you want to watch me puke on Lake Michigan, that's episode 1. Guys, listen, I yacked all over that daggum boat. What would you target? And if I had these 2 guys right there, if I had to pick Kaz and Emil and I had to do an episode, I don't know that I wouldn't do it on Lake Lanier or maybe Hartwell. But if I could get them out of their comfort zone, I'd take them both to Montana, put fly rods in their hands, and say, let's go. You ever thrown a fly rod?
Never made a cast with one of mine.
That would be great. We need to get a meal on a fly rod. I know you probably have.
I went to Colorado last year for a week, camped in the woods, never saw a person for a week with 2 of my buddies. And we never showered. We slept in the dirt, and we caught trout and ate trout the whole time. It was amazing.
Is it not fun?
Oh, it's the best.
I will tell you.
Like, trout fishing here versus out there,
different world.
I don't trout fish here.
Yeah,
at all.
Different world.
At all.
I will tell you guys this. I know a lot of bass guys are like, they look at fly fishermen as like snobs and all that. If you guys ever hooked on a 20+ inch trout and some good current, it would change your mind about that. And really, trout fishing, fly fishing it's nothing more than bass techniques. You're throwing a streamer, you're doing a jerk bait or a crankbait. It all relates.
Yeah, it's cool. It's just reading currents and things like
that.
It
is.
I fished for them, but we just used a spinning rod with a
Panther
Martin. I don't care. No.
Man.
Rooster tail.
A fly rod in your hand.
I'd rather go shoal bass fishing.
Yeah.
So, you know what? That might be good. I could get you 2 guys down on the Flint River, down in around Columbus or something like that, and we do that. So that would be it. Listen, just be honest with you. I'm an old fart, getting to hang out with a couple of young guys, having some brews, get out there and fish for shoal bass or whatever. It would be a good time with these guys for sure. Let's see some next questions. Pull up DS Bass Guide.
The bass guy.
You should get Aaron Lewis on the show. He's big into bass fishing and he throws glides. You know what? I need to do that. I actually reached out to Deion Sanders on his Instagram. I'm trying to get Deion Sanders and some big name guys to come in. A lot of these celebrities fish, and we don't, you always hear about them with football and stuff. But I think it'd be pretty cool to get some celebrities, even if I have to pipe them in to talk about fishing. And The Rock is on my list too. So Jake Hubbard wants to know right there, can you ask Emil what color underwear attracts big spotted bass?
Yeah, that's my buddy Jake.
Your buddies are trolling
they
you tonight.
did pretty good today. I'm wearing gray ones, so we'll go with that.
Gray?
It was pretty good today.
I will tell you this. If you go to Fish North Georgia, we're rebuilding our online store, but there is a section right there that you can go in and you can get some boxes with my face on it, holding up a bass right there. I think if you will go buy those, it will bring you luck right there.
Those are guaranteed to improve your catch.
Guaranteed to improve it. Matt O. Fishing. This is a good question. If you guys are watching the draft, let me know who the Falcons took. Who does Emil think the Falcons should take with the eighth pick of the NFL draft?
I don't know anything about football. I watch with my buddies who like it, but all I do is fish at this point, and I'd be lying if I try to give an answer to that.
I can tell you right now, they need to take an edge rusher. We got the offense right there. Fred Ashcraft, the Tuesday night episode was great. Learned a lot. And again, that was one thing I put on some older podcasts. And if you guys are ever on our YouTube page, go check out some of the stuff. You actually can see Kaz as a 16-year-old back in the day.
That was a long
time ago.
That's before that thing on his lip.
That's right. Before he was able to grow a mustache. I wish I had these guys like that. We're actually going to bring back some of the one-on-one podcasts and start doing those. But I appreciate that. So Ryan Jackson wants to know, Kaz, I'll start off with you. What's Kaz and Emil's jig setup for Lanier? What's your jig setup, dog?
Kaz.
So to run through it real quick.
Run through it.
I use any 7 to 7'3" heavy action rod.
Yeah.
And a fast reel 7 or 8 to 1, 15-pound fluorocarbon, and a 3/8 ounce Arky head jig with a twin tail grub trailer and a ½ ounce if the wind's blowing really hard.
Okay.
But most of the time I stick with a 3/8.
3/8. What about you? You throw jigs a lot there, Emil?
Yeah. I like a long rod. I threw it a lot, honestly, before forward-facing sonar really became as big. I feel like I threw it a ton just dragging the ditches, but 7.5, medium heavy action, just a Fenwick World Class, 8 to 1 to 1, and 15-pound fluoro. Same deal, 3/8 normally, and if the wind's blowing or they're really chewing, ½ ounce, and I always throw a twin tail.
And I'll tell you what, guys, right now, if you want a good jig color, the Lanier smoke that I tie, and also the cheat code is coming up. All right, so guys, we're an hour in. Kevin, I know you got a great question back there. Guys, listen, we're getting ready to give away a Evolve rod sleeve. And again, as we do every single Thursday when Kevin has a question, it's on him, dude. If the answers are wrong or whatever, it's all on Kevin Thornton Sr. back there.
Right. This answer's right.
This answer is right. So Kevin, jump on camera back there. And again, is it a 2-part question or a 1-part? I don't remember.
It's one question.
One part. So guys, listen, the first
it's one question tonight, and here's the man that's been thrown on.
That's right. And I will tell you guys this. If you're watching on YouTube or Facebook, keep this in mind. If you're watching on YouTube and you type in something and a guy that's on Facebook types in something, the YouTube answer always comes first. So it pays to watch on YouTube. But we're going to give away an Evolve rod sleeve right now. Kevin, shoot your question out right there.
Okay, here it is. What lake was a Bassmaster Classic held on where 24 identical Ranger boats were snuck in on at midnight so local contestants wouldn't be tipped off to the event's location? Again, what lake was a Bassmaster Classic held on where 24 identical Ranger boats were snuck in on at midnight so local contestants wouldn't be tipped off to the event's location?
All right, so one answer, right?
One answer.
Okay, so we're going to continue the conversation. And Tim and Kevin already got it?
Yep.
Clint Bartlett?
At the bottom.
That son of a gun probably used AI to get that answer. Percy Priest, 72.
Dang, Clint.
Listen, Clint's sitting there with his daggum Google and his AI. I guarantee you.
I'm going back to tough questions.
Go back to tough. That was too damn easy, Kevin. I got to give away something.
Clint, you just run it for everybody else,
It
buddy.
just took 27 seconds, if that, to answer that question. So the answer is Percy Priest, 1972. So he actually said he was winning. Clint does cheat, Matto. I have found out a lot of these guys use the AI and they just basically put the question right in. But again, Clint Bartlett, you suck. I love you, but we'll give you an Evolve rod sleeve right there. So congratulations right there. So Michael Temples wants to know, let's keep the conversation going. What kind of Garmin units are they using for their live scope? So do you use, both of you guys use Garmin?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
You have 30. What do you got?
So I've had 4 different ones now, and now I've landed on the 8616. It's a big unit. I had the 8612 before this. I had a 1222 before that one and a 93 SV before it. They were all great, honestly. You end up getting used to whichever one you have. And I'd be lying if I said there was a massive advantage to the 16 over the 12 or even a 10. I think you get dialed in with whichever unit you have. But that 8616 is what I run now. And I love it because I don't have to like squint down there to see what's going on. It gives you a good big picture. It's expensive as hell, but it's a good unit.
It's good. Before I get to Kaz on that, who the hell is Uncle Frank?
I saw that. I'm probably just missing something. I don't know. He's going to have to expand on that one for
Any
me.
headway on getting Uncle Frank out on Lanier with you? So Derek, go. Need a little more context with that question right there. So, Kaz, we're going to do 2 things with you because Emerson Mulhall, and I hope I say that right, has a question as well. First of all, what Garmin, Live Scope, whatever setup are you using?
So I've got the 1243. It looks the same as the 86 series. It doesn't have any buttons on the side. It's just one glass screen. And I love it. It's pretty solid. I like Emil, I've had the 1022 and 94 SV and now the 1243. And definitely I like the bigger screen. I mean, it's all you can't. I like to shoot out 100 to 120 feet all the time on these local lakes around here, so having the bigger screen helps. Okay. But as long the screen, really doesn't make as big of a difference as your setup as far as batteries, mounts on transducers, angles, things like that is what makes all the difference in a good live scope setup.
Okay.
The unit,
good
they're
wiring,
all solid.
good batteries, all that.
Definitely. Yeah. And guys, again, hey, Sonar Pros right there. Definitely want to check them guys out. Real quick, if I get to this question for Kaz, Derek O says Frank Scalish from the BTL.
Yeah, Frank Scalish.
Is it Scalish?
I must have missed something last time I was on BTL. I didn't know he wanted to come, but if he wants to go on Lanier, tell him to give me a call. We'll go out.
So that's the thing. You guys are freaking celebrities now. Like you're on all kinds of podcasts and everything. You're big time now.
You're big time.
No, listen, this is the best place for you to be. But I'm just kidding right there. So, Kaz, what's the best rod and setup to drop a minnow? I guess he's going to say a minnow, M-I-N-E-R with. So let's say you're dropping some minnows. What's the best rod setup for that?
Well, if you're going to fish a actual live bait, something pretty light, like a just any medium light action rod, something that loads up pretty good for anybody that's interested in live bait. I don't do that a whole lot, but whenever I was a kid, I've been known to drown a few minnows. But I
love it. I love doing
absolutely. That. Yeah, I'm not prejudiced at all. I'll drop a minnow down there. But no. So if he's talking about a jig head minnow, like the most popular technique in bass fishing right now,
right?
I like a medium heavy spinning rod, 7-foot medium heavy with a size 30 with braid to 8-pound leader. I like the medium heavy.
I got you. So Jeremiah, the Evolve rod sleeves for a regular size, whether it be spinning or bait casting, they go for $17.99, and if you get to the long, then $19.99. I got them in the store right there. So Scratch Fishing, appreciate you, Scratch, joining us tonight. Are you guys finding it hard to see your baits on forward-facing sonar over the last several weeks? So that question tells me that something's up with him as far as the last several weeks, as far as seeing him on forward-facing sonar.
It's the pollen.
Yep.
Pollen. How does pollen affect forward-facing sonar?
It looks like crap. The whole top 20 feet of the water column, it just blows it out, and you can't see your bait, and there's literally nothing you can do about it. You can crank your gain way down, and the fuzz will go away, but then you can't see your bait. So there literally is nothing you can do about it other than you can still see it, but you just got to have a good eye for it or get in an area without pollen. Like usually if you're in an area the wind's ripping into, that's where the pollen's really bad. Whereas if you get somewhere tucked out of it, it's not as bad. But there is nothing you can do about that, at least not that I'm aware of.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So Fred Ashcraft, let's pull up that next question right there. I love you guys. Listen, the more comments and questions you got, the easier my job is. We don't want to be like other podcasts around here and just talk about ourselves. I love getting these guys to answer your questions right there. If you want to come fish Lanier if I want to come fish Lanier for a few days and come by the store, where would be a good place to stay? My recommendations on Lake Lanier, you always can get a good Airbnb, but Dawsonville and Gainesville have a lot of great, hotels. The only problem with hotels is the security with leaving your boat and stuff out there. So my recommendation to you is go to Airbnb and rent a house for a night or two. Get your boat out from the public eye. That's what I would do if I was you. I know when we go out of town, that's what we do. Airbnb is the way to go, but hotels are fine. Let's see. Hunter fishing. Let's pull that up right there. Mr. Tim, do they see themselves using Apple or Facebook VR goggles with their electronics?
No.
I think it'd be funny as hell to watch both of you guys out there with a big set of goggles.
I do it for fun. I mean, it'd be
you would
cool,
do it for fun.
Yeah,
I'd do it one day, but I wouldn't be out there wearing goggles every day. No.
Y'all
there was one guy who said he was going to do it as a joke on the Elites. I think it was Ed Logren, and it didn't end up turning into anything. I don't know.
Have you messed with those yet? Have you even seen? Have you seen the goggles? I wonder how that is.
I don't know what they look like.
Okay, well there you go. So.
I figure somebody will end up waltzing right off the front of the boat.
Dude, my ass would fall down. I'd break my neck. I couldn't do anything. Michael Temples wants to know, so the GPS units are clearer than the Echo Map, and I guess he's going back to what you guys use.
Yeah, so the Echo Maps, the 126 SV, the 106 SV, they're actually really, really good units. Again, it goes back to wiring, the right settings, a good battery. I run a 16-volt powerhouse. I mean, it doesn't hurt anything, that's for sure. But I've been in some boats with the 126, and they look incredible. So literally, you could take the 126, the 1222, or the 1243, 8612, whatever. They're literally all great units. Like, there's not one of them that's leaps above the other.
Okay. If you want to read the blueprints, though, the 86 has got the most pixels.
Yes, it's got a triple core processor instead of a dual. But
yeah, again,
I've used guiding. I guide out of other people's boats all the time. I get in some that look absolutely terrible. It's got nothing to do with the unit. It's all bad wiring and bad batteries.
Makes a lot of sense. So there you got, listen, these young guys know that stuff. The Falcons, for you guys that are wondering, the NFL draft tonight, and Matt O'Connell, I believe that, says the Falcons took Phoenix with their picks. And hey, listen, Cousins is old, so you might as well get your quarterback of the future. Get ready. I understand the pick. I would have took an edge rusher. So there you go. That's our football talk for the night. Have either of you guys used bait pop?
I've used it.
I've tried it.
Does it make a damn difference? Be honest. If it's a damn scam, say it.
I wouldn't call it a scam, but like as far as the scent wise, no, it helps color and some techniques like on metal baits, or like I use it a lot on like jerk baits and glide baits is where I've found it to help out.
On your forward facing sonar, being able to see that.
Yes. So like I don't use it a whole lot on like a worm or something like that. I use it more so on hard baits.
Does it really show up better on your forward facing sonar?
Not that much better. Not enough for, if you, I remember at one time it was like $20 a tube. I don't think it didn't make a huge difference to me. Now, some people may have seen differences. I'm not going to sit here and say that it doesn't work. It does work some, but it's not like life-changing.
Well, here's my question to you as a business owner that I'm trying to restock this shop. Would it be in my best interest to order bait pop? Or is it just something like, Danny, let's be honest, it's not that big of a deal.
I think scents are better than forward-facing sonar returners. I think is your investment scents. If you're wanting to like supplements for baits, scents would be a better route to go.
Okay, you feel the same way, Emil?
Yeah, I honestly haven't really used the bait pop or the there's another big one now. But I do have some buddies though. Like there's one of them, there's two big ones, and apparently one of them's actually not bad from what I've heard. Like it actually helps the return. I just haven't messed with it.
How does it help the return?
It just makes it slightly brighter at a longer distance if you're having trouble seeing it. Again, I haven't used it. I don't know.
Right.
I'm just going based off what other people said. I know one of them has original fish formula in it. So, I mean, that is good scent. So we talked about scent earlier before the show. It can't hurt, if anything.
Right. So if you guys were here again, like I've invited everybody to be here an hour before the show, that's when some good conversations happen. I'm just wondering, is that I tell everybody there's two types of baits in the fishing industry: those that catch fish and those that catch anglers. In your opinion, is forward-facing sonar, and we're going to call it juice, bait pop, whatever it is that more towards catching anglers, or is it really something legitimate that guys can buy and that will help them catch fish?
It would depend on the product, like there's some baits, like I know there was a company saying they came out with a forward-facing sonar jerk bait, and it was literally just a jerk bait. I'm like, there's nothing forward-facing sonar.
Right.
That's purely marketing. But there are some baits, like, again, well, you call it a sponsor plug, whatever. The Credge, like that is literally a bait that they designed to do special things with forward-facing sonar. There is a lot of legitimacy to that. And again, the bait pop thing, I can't really speak of. If I used it and my bait showed up a lot better and it gave me some scent, hell yeah, I'm all about it. But that would depend on the product.
What about you? You both of you guys run businesses. I think a lot of people think of you guys as tournament anglers. Both of you guys are guides. So your job as a guide is to put people on fish. You utilize forward-facing sonar in your business.
Yeah.
Do you use anything like bait pop or anything like that?
Not in my everyday fishing.
Okay.
Sometimes, like if I'm having a hard time, like in pollen, like this time of year, I may put some on there just to help a little bit. But like in Florida, whenever I'm throwing a jerkbait in grass, I rubbed it all over it just a little bit just to get a little bit better return. And I did see a little bit better return there.
A little bit.
Yes. But like as far as like using it every day, like it's not like I won't throw something.
It's not life-changing.
No.
Okay. All right. That's fair enough. Carrie Bell. Pull up Carrie Bell's question. Let me tell you something. This son of a bitch right here has got the baddest electric boat in the state of Georgia.
Oh, it's crazy. I've been in and out of
it. Dude, I fished a tournament against him 2 Sundays ago, and like this, he's a
good fisherman, too.
He is good, and I like him. Very good guy. I'm going smallmouth fishing for my birthday in July. What body of water would be best to go to within 4 hours of Lake Lanier to catch smallmouth?
Dale Hollow.
Dale Hollow.
I think it's 4.5, but it's right there.
Close enough.
Yeah, we've seen it. The Bass Pro Tour just went. They've had some Toyotas there. It's like the best smallmouth and largemouth fishery probably in the South right now. It's insane.
Smallmouth and largemouth. You still give Lanier the edge on spots, right?
Oh, no doubt. That's the best spot lake in the
country. All right, so that's good. So what about you, Kaz? I mean, I've heard that smallmouth on Chattooga now are kind of – Jonathan Farmer coined this term unicorn fish.
Oh, yeah. No, like it's not – you can't really target them anywhere around
so if you're
my area.
If you're going to target smallmouth in the southeast, 4 hours from Lake Lanier.
Dale Hollow.
Dale Hollow.
Yeah, at that time of year, in the summertime, Dale Hollow.
Okay, all right, fair enough. Casey Blanton says the Monday Nighters on Altona are starting up. Absolutely. And I will tell you guys, I talked to Bill Payne. A lot of you guys, especially on Altona, know that. Before June, he's going to come on and we're going to do a nighttime bass fishing. Get all of his little secrets on fishing for bass at night. Because, again, with all the traffic on these area lakes, you get all these pleasure boaters out there, the jet ski guys. What's them big-ass boats that
they suck?
Oh, my gosh.
Wake boats.
Wake boats. They ought to be outlawed, but that's a money thing.
It starts the 29th of April.
29th? Okay, there you go. So the night tournaments are coming. You guys fish night tournaments at all?
A ton, yeah.
A ton?
Especially before, like we fished the whole Monday night trail for Allatoona, me and my buddy, and we fished the championship, everything, and we love it. I mean, I'll fish the Monday night, the Tuesday night, sometimes the Wednesday
night. Do you love
it?
I mean, do you like night fishing, honestly?
Yeah, I love it. I do. I like it as much as daytime fishing, not even close, but we figured them out good enough to where it was fun.
All right, so Emil, just give me one bait to throw at night for the average guy to go out on Allatoona, Lake Lanier, Chattooga, any of these lakes, and I'm going to ask you both these questions. I got a night tournament. I need one bait to throw. You throwing a big spinner bait with the Colorado blade?
3/4 ounce, nighttime, black and purple, black and blue spinner bait, big Colorado blade, throw a little craw bait on the back, maybe a trailer hook I usually throw on unless I'm fishing brush, and you just crawl that thing on the bottom, and a 2-pound spot will hit that thing harder than it'll hit anything during the day.
That's really what I hear. That's what I hear. What about you? I like crankbait tonight.
Crankbaits are good. I drag at night a lot. I actually I love just dragging a 3/8 ounce jigger. Whenever my dad and I used to fish night tournaments a lot, and it was kind of daytime, nighttime. We threw like one or two things, and a Texas rig green pumpkin trick worm was awful hard to beat. And it still catches the heck out.
Really? I know a lot of guys throw the old monsters, but you throw a trick worm.
A trick worm or an old monster sometimes. Like, I mean, I fished a lot of dock lights, and the old monster's solid, but that trick worm's hard to beat.
What you pointing at there, Kevin?
2 years ago, we fished the Classic Championship and won it.
You fished the Classic Championship?
We did.
Emil
did win the championship.
That's because his ass has got a horseshoe up his butt. Yeah, he's good. I get it 100%.
He won it.
J.R. Mitchell, pull that up right there at the top. I love all these questions coming in. With forward-facing sonar being such a valuable tool now, are you guys keeping a jerk bait on the deck year-round instead of the normal cold weather bait? So with forward-facing sonar, and let's talk specifically jerk baits, is that changing the way that you throw a jerk bait?
Yeah, so it's weird on the Lanier and Hartwell and like these herring lakes. I really only throw it when I throw it when it's cold out and in the fall. But then everywhere else I go, I throw it year round. Like it helped last year in the Toyotas. I caught them on it at Chickamauga. I caught them on it at Gunnersville. I caught them on it at Eufaula, Alabama. I caught them on it
on jerk baits.
On a jerk bait. I caught some on it on Okeechobee in practice. You can throw that thing year round. Again, for whatever reason around here I don't do it, but for largemouth, yeah.
So what you just said, given what you just said, when you on a largemouth dominated lake, jerk bait year round.
Yeah, anytime they're offshore and less than 10 foot, I'll throw it. If they're deeper than that, you can throw something like a credge, sink it down to them. But yeah, that jerk bait is a legit player. And forward-facing sonar has had a lot to do with that.
It does. How about you, Ken?
Just like that question was probably generated from watching every professional level tournament. A lot of people were throwing jerk baits on forward-facing sonar. And used to, you could hit any big windy point on Lake Lanier or Lake Chattooga and throw a jerk bait out there and rip it as hard as you can. You would get your arm ripped off. Now it doesn't seem to be as big of a deal as what it used to be. But like he said, a jerk bait, for me, when I go to a different body of water that's got largemouth in it or anywhere that I'm not really comfortable with, if I'm trying to figure out what's going on and get around some bass, you can always get bass to react to a jerk bait. They'll at least follow it or make a move towards it, and you can know you're around some active fish, if anything. Okay. Whether they bite it or not, it's an awesome way to tell that you're around some active fish or what you're looking for. But they will bite it, like, all the time.
All the time. So I got a question for you right here. Andy Anderson. Andy, appreciate you joining us tonight. Kaz, are you planning on getting Jordan Lee over this summer to fish Lanier for some Hammond's Thursday events or whatever? So cool. You never know who may jump into those events. So your buddy is, again, we had Kaz and Jordan Lee on probably about 2 months ago,
something
2 or 3
like
months
that,
ago. Yeah. And I will say this, that's the first time I've ever experienced having a conversation with Jordan Lee. Totally cool dude. Loved it right there. We learned a lot about Becky that night. But you plan on bringing him over for some?
Yeah, we're actually supposed to come next week, Monday or Tuesday or Wednesday. We're supposed to come out here and reel some in. So
really, he's a good dude.
Yeah, he's a good dude. We fish all the time. But yeah, I mean, we'll fish some tournaments, and everybody I've brought out from out of town. Ryan Jackson that works at Hammond's is who I usually fish tournaments with. Mm-hmm. You know, it doesn't work us out during the week. We both have work. You know, if one of us is working and the other one isn't, it seems like. But whoever I bring from out of town, you know, buddies that come in to fish the digital tournaments for Hammond's, everybody's loved them. It's a cool format.
Just make sure he has the right sandwich.
Yeah.
Make sure, and guys, again, you have to go back and watch that podcast to understand what that comment was.
Yeah.
Matt O, I believe that's O'Connell. Again, another great local angler. I'm opposite of Kaz. I only use it on soft plastics. It has good scent and slightly helps. So I think he's talking about the bait pop and all that. And he fishes a lot of cast products. So
that's dang good. I wish I was.
Dude, he's a good. He's a good angler. He's good. Yeah. We got to talk with him about his hair though.
Yeah.
So we got.
It's got obviously good mojo for him.
Matt, you got.
I mean, the guy's 35 and looks like he's 12.
He does look like he's 12. Like he's got that mullet kind of going on right there with that long hair and all that.
Look young.
He does look young. Matt, we love you right there. So, Fred Ashcraft right under Matt right there. What do y'all think about ABT fuel bait? I fish Southeast tidal water, and it's 55. I don't know exactly what the 50/5 means. ABT fuel bait. You guys ever use it?
I have no clue what that is.
I don't know about it either.
I know what bait fuel is, but not fuel.
The-
I
Listen.
wonder if it's talking about American Bait Works, which stands for.
Hey, Fred, give me a little more context on that question right there. I will tell you this, that bait fuel. Now, first of all, I want to ask you both that. Do you think it works? And second of all, that is the slickest stuff known to a human.
Yep.
That is absolutely I put a bunch of it in a pack of worms before a tournament. I couldn't even hold the worms to get it on my shaky. It is slick.
It's slick. No,
So alternative uses for it. That's all I'll say. Look at Emil. Emil's
You
over there
vapor locked 2 or 3 of them on that one.
Emil's just over like shaking his head. Dude, seriously, if you're into that game, bait fuels. I tell guys that come, you're not going there.
No.
When they come in, they say, "What good is bait fuel?" And I'm like, "Well, here's your options."
For real, on bait fuel though, like I'm sure a lot of people have said it does work, but I'm all about like if I'm going to use any supplement, it needs to stink like something that I think is like powerful,
like a bad Saturday night.
Something that I'm gonna put on there. It needs to, if for me to have confidence in it, I feel like it needs to at least I need to smell it so they can smell it.
I got you. You use a lot of sense.
Yeah, like obviously we're both Berkeley guys, and it's no BS. The Max Scent's incredible.
Yes, I want you to talk about the Max Scent.
The lab they have going up there at Spirit Lake, like they put a ton of money in testing into making that stuff good, and like it's the type of plastic they use for Max Scent is different than everything else they have. And the more you fish it, the more scent it releases up to a certain period, an hour or two. You might want to change your bait,
right?
But it literally disperses in the water as you fish it. So anytime there's a bait in the Max Scent lineup that fits what I want to do, I throw that. And then I have a bottle of gulp spray. Like let's say I'm throwing, obviously we throw stuff other than Berkeley. I'll spray the gulp spray on it to get it to smell good. Because the saltwater guys live by that too. So
they
as
do.
As far as scent goes, Berkeley has the scent game down pat, and their studies are beyond everything else.
They've actually put some science behind it.
100%.
So we talked about this again before the show, and I want to bring it up. My thoughts on scent is that a lot of guys are fishing stuff that it moves really fast. As a novice angler, and that's what I'll classify myself as, is it more of once they get the bait in their mouth, it feels real, it tastes real, or is it the scent trail? And Emil, you can start on that.
So there's a couple different ways you can go with that. The water clarity, I think, has a lot to do with it. If you're around smallmouth, really clear water, around spotted bass, really clear water, they're sight feeders. Like if they're going to go down on a bait, look at it. Like we've all seen it. We'll throw a shaky head or a drop shot at them. They'll go down there. And a lot of times it's 30 seconds of sitting there, dragging it slow or shaking it before he eats it. So he's down there inspecting your bait, wondering if he should bite it. And 100,000% the scent makes a difference there. If you're in muddy water, pre-spawn, whatever, wind blowing, you're throwing a chatterbait, a trap, even flipping in really muddy water, that's usually a reaction bite. You're getting that bite as you flip in there, hitting him in the head. He's either going to bite it or it's not. Would scent hurt in that case scenario? 100% not. It might still get you 101 bites instead of 100, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, right.
So in clear water scenarios, I 100% thinks it makes a difference. There's no doubt it makes a difference on smallmouth. You see guys like Taku Ito. He's got these insane concoctions. He's one of the best smallmouth guys on the Elites. Like these weird like blueberry scents. He's soaking them in like white powder, all kinds of stuff to get them to smell good. And like it works for him and it gets him a bunch of more bites. So it definitely makes a difference. The flatworm dominates the smallmouth areas. It really did a couple years ago. So yeah,
you believe in it
100%.
What about you, Cass?
Just riding off the coattails of what he said, the scent is king in clear water scenarios. And in any sense, one sitting there looking at it, any additive that you can put on there that's going to help get you an extra bite, I'm all for it. Max Scent, if they make it in the shape and the color that's the plastics that I throw.
Right. Do you think though that once the bass gets the bait in its mouth,
no,
is it the scent though that helps it hold on to it longer?
No,
you don't believe in that.
I think once he's committed by that time, unless it's got hooks and treble hooks and everything, he'll blow a bait out. But if you ever like pre-fish for a tournament and fished without a hook, you can catch. zoom bait or zoom trick worm, for example. I've fished one on a hitchhiker without a hook. He bites it. You can lead that thing 20, 30 yards around before he spits it out. And a max scent, same thing. Probably maybe a little longer. I've never really counted. All I know is it's well long enough to set the hook on one.
So the Berkeley max scent, because it's infused, it's made with that scent.
It definitely helps.
You said something about it being, one of you two guys said before the show about it being porous.
It's porous. So the plastic is porous. So and the scent is, water goes into the bait, it soaks it up, and then when it comes in contact with the water comes in the pores and the scent infuses, so it's constantly leaving like a scent trail. It's like if any additive that you like rub on your bait or spray on any other brand of plastic that's not made out of that material, it doesn't last remotely as long. So this is just like, you don't have to add anything to these
because
plastics.
It's in the worm.
Yes, and it, like he said, an hour or two that's going to run out, but it's constantly, every time that bait touches the water, it's constantly putting out scent.
Okay, that's pretty interesting. Dane Hunter says, hey, what's up, Dane? I was told bait pop has metal flake in it that helps reflect forward-facing sonar, which I guess makes sense. I know a lot of guys are going to the those type of baits. You know,
tungsten definitely shows up.
Tungsten does tungsten show up better?
Yeah, a little bit. Again, it's not.
It's not. Is it crazy?
I think even
difference?
When you think bait pop, tungsten, anything that'll show up better, people expect their bait at 100 foot to be this bright, glowing thing, and it just isn't. You just have to have a good eye for it. A lot of times, it's just this little. If you can have the best battery, the best wiring, everything. If you throw your bait 100 feet, it's not going to be easy to see. You're looking for a little flicker on the graph, and once you get that trained eye to see that, it's, you know, you can track it all the way down whether you have bait pop or not.
Okay, all right, makes sense. So, a lot of great comments about the Monday Nighter starter. Pull up Big Al. Big Al, there's the boom. Of course, Big Al, if you ever watch the NPFL tournament, he's the one doing the weigh-ins right there. And Big Al, listen, I'm sorry. I was supposed to have called you. Totally forgot. Been busy right here. Every Thursday night, Big Al, and you guys are young, gives us a babe from the past. All right, so tonight his selection is Kelly LeBrock. For you older guys like me, you know who Kelly LeBrock is? Hey, Thornton.
Yeah.
Does that get your seal of approval?
Yes, it does.
Kelly LeBrock. Was she the one in Weird Science?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Oh, she was hot. She was hot. Now, you guys are young. Have you ever watched Weird Science or any of that stuff? You guys need to check out. Listen, I'm telling you, chicks in the 80s, different ball game, baby.
Oh, yeah.
Different ball game. So, Big Al, again, I apologize for not calling you. It's been crazy. Kelly LeBrock gets to Fish, North Georgia. Thumbs up right there from the babes of the past right there. Listen, y'all got to go watch Weird
She's still
Science.
alive?
Hell, who cares if she was alive? In the 80s, she
Just
was
watch
hot.
the movie.
You got to watch Weird Science. That's where they go in, they take the computer, and they create a baby. You ain't never seen that. Oh, my gosh. Listen, many a teenage boy's dreams back in the 80s, early 90s was made with Kelly LeBrock right there. So
Guilty.
Yeah, I know. I won't say what we did, but Kelly LeBrock was hot. She was hot right there.
Very
so
hot.
Good selection from Big Al tonight from Babes from the Past. Fred Ashcraft, what do you guys think about bait fuel? Again, I said right there, it's got alternative uses, but it's slick. I don't know if it works or not. Some guys either love it, they hate it. Have you ever used bait fuel?
I had one bottle forever ago, but it's if you left the bag open even a tiny bit, it gets really crusty on the outside, and like I don't know, I wasn't a huge fan, but I know some guys love it. So.
Yeah, I don't know. What about you?
I don't use it.
You don't use it?
Yeah, I mean I have before, but like I've got a buddy that's a diehard believer in it, but like I said, it's a mentality thing for me. It probably does work, but if I'm going to put anything on there, I feel like the more powerful and strong the scent is, it's going to help.
Because it doesn't have scent. It's just straight up.
I don't really understand the concept. I can't really.
I will say this: if you know, guys that play for the other team probably love bait pop. That's all I got to say.
Oh,
right
dear
there.
God.
Bait fuel. If you play for the other team, huh? What are you saying back there, Tim? I'm just saying it like it is. It's slick
Down
as
the
out.
rabbit hole we go.
Scroll down.
Yeah, go.
Let's find a comment, guys.
Kaz's family's probably watching, so that's all I'm going to say. But if you're into that game, bait fuel right there. So
Scratch has a good question.
Fuel. Let's get back to fishing. What are your fluke setups and how do you rig them? Kaz, we'll start with you.
What are your fluke setups and how do you rig them? So my fluke setup is Abu Garcia actually makes a rod that's perfect. It's a 7.4 medium. It's the Pro Series. It's pretty inexpensive rod. It's like $120. And any size 30 or 40 spinning reel with spool with braid to 8 or 10 pound leader. And I've played around with a bunch of different ways to rig a fluke. I usually leave mine with a 3/0 EWG Texas rig. It adds a little bit of weight to it. I can throw it out there and reel it pretty quick. It gives it a good action, and when one bites it, I can rear back and give him the beans.
Give him the beans. Okay, I like that. What about you, Emil?
7.1 medium fast action world class Fenwick spinning rod. I've been throwing it. I don't know why. When I'm throwing it shallow, I like a bait caster. So like lately herring spawn and stuff, I've been throwing out a 7.3 medium heavy, 12-pound line on a bait caster, 8.3 to 1. And I just throw a 4/0 worm hook, plain and simple.
Do either you guys use a swivel to keep the nose down?
Never thrown a swivel on it, and I never will. There's a lot of the guys that do, but I don't have issues without it. So
I've never really had line twist real bad on a fluke.
Yeah. I think with braid to a leader, it's not a problem.
So what I've heard is not only for line twist, but a lot of guys use a swivel to keep the nose down. You don't have a problem with that?
No, if you rig it right and you fish it, I mean, it stays down. And if you'll see it sometimes you're popping it along and it's shooting up and out of the water.
I think that's
awesome. I was going to say, sometimes that's how they like it. But if you want it to stay down, just rig it perfectly straight.
It's all about the rigging.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. So pull up J.R. Mitchell's question here. This is going to be a perfect time for me to take a bathroom break. So both of you guys can answer this. Kaz, I'll start with you. Would love to hear all three of y'all. Like, I'm the expert. I'm not the expert here. So we're going to listen to the two guys right here that actually fish for a living right here. Would love to hear all three of y'all's process of keeping bass alive during the summer months that's approaching us. Ice, pool noodles, G-juice, etc. So if you're both fishing a tournament, again, Kaz, we're going to start with you.
Yeah.
What do you do to keep fish alive? You got to keep 5 fish alive. You got to bring them to the weigh-in. What's your process? And then when he's done, Emil, you chime in on that.
So first thing, go to the tournament. Go in the morning. I buy a bag of ice, 10 usually probably about 10 pounds in each live well. Pour it in there before, and then dump the boat in the lake. Then I let that ice just sit in there and just cool the live well down. All the walls, it'll just cool it down. Then I'll fill them up with water and start recirculating on blast off. That way I can put a fish in there. I'm not putting him on like straight ice. I let the lake water get in there and recirculate with the ice. It'll melt the ice and kind of make just a good temperature. Add some G-juice, turn the oxygenator on high. And there's a trick around here a lot of people do with an oxygen bottle, putting it in your boat along with an oxygenator. I do think that helps. It's just literally a bottle of pure oxygen, and you run the tube into your live well, and it literally pumps pure oxygen into the live well, and that helps the fish. We had a BFL last year on Lanier in August or September, 3 fish limit, and it was straight carnage. Like, I mean, I did all this, and I had good live wells, and I still lost fish. But it's not going to guarantee a survival rate. But that time of year, it's just really hard on fish. But ice is the biggest thing. Put ice in your – a lot of people think adding ice. Adding ice is good, but what's helped me is starting with ice, just bare ice in the floor of your live well. Dump the boat in the lake, let it sit there for a little bit, then fill your live wells up and let it recirculate that cold, melted ice water. It won't shock them. If you put them in there with just straight ice water, it'll shock them and kill them.
Okay. I have no idea what you said. Yeah. It's in the bathroom, but it sounds good to me. What about you, Emil?
Yeah, pretty much everything you mentioned. Ice, like Kaz said, is the most important. I start out with 1 bag in the bottom of it before I take off. Don't fill your live wells up at the ramp in the morning. There's 2-stroke oil, gas, you name it, at that ramp. There's 200 boats idling around.
Yeah.
So I leave it totally dry, bag of ice on the bottom, get to my first spot. I'll fill it up halfway or so until I catch one, and then fill it up and put it on recirc. What I started doing this summer, I'll put it on autofill manual recirc. So it's always recirculating, and then every 30 minutes or so, it's pumping fresh water in there with fresh oxygen. But you have to have enough ice to keep up with that new water going in. So I love my Phoenix, but the cooler isn't the biggest, so I can fit 2, maybe 3 bags in there if I really squish them and I have nothing else in there. And usually I'll bring, and this is when it's really hot, a separate cooler with another 2 or 3 bags because you'll go through them all, no problem.
Right.
And so, yeah, a bunch of ice, preferably 6 bags or so. I do pool noodles for 2 reasons. One, when you open those live wells without pool noodles, they see the sunlight, and I've almost lost fish from them jumping out of the live well and trying to get out. And I mean, in the heat of the moment, I remember big high school tournament, tough tournament on Clark's Hill. We had one do that, shoot clean out of the live well. My buddy William caught it smack on top of the gunnel. I have no clue how he did it. And ever since then, tried to run those pool noodles to keep that from happening. And you've got that big metal lever thing on the top, that turns in and out, and they'll hit their head on that, and that can hurt them. So the pool noodles will keep that from happening. And then I do G-juice, and if it's really hot, like those August, September tournaments, I run that oxygen bottle I'll have the oxygen bottle in a side compartment, and you just run it into the live well.
You know what I love about this? You guys have been on enough that I can actually just get up and leave for 5 minutes. You guys can carry on the show. I think you guys need to actually host the show sometime right there. You guys are awesome. Jonathan Farmer, this is for both of you. What is Emil and Kaz's go-to bait? If you have to catch one, what do you go to? Mine is a jig. So Emil, one bait.
Are we talking about Lanier?
Let's talk about Lanier. Any Highland Reservoir in North Georgia.
Just a shaky head, 100%.
Shaky head.
With a general on it. Spots love it. 3/16. It's the best all-around size.
Do you do any of the dyeing of the tail like a lot of guys do?
No, I used to do it a lot, and I've got away from it. The MaxScent stuff gives me so much confidence. I just throw a 5-inch Berkeley general. I do the green pumpkin party, I think they call it, the one with the green bunch of colors. And the Magnum Hitworm is really good too. It's usually one of those two. Kaz loves that one as well. But 1,000% you can catch one in August, December. The first day of that TAA, I had 21, whatever, and they all came on a general on a shaky head. I have it all in.
Did it really?
Yes, every single one.
Okay, it's a good worm.
It's a great
I love that worm. What about you there, Kaz? One bait.
The same. That's kind of boring. If you want to, I'll pick my second favorite bait. Just
pick your favorite.
Just to give him something different.
Yeah.
Probably it's going to be, if I had to have one, it would have to be a Nico rig.
Old bent worm there, like Paul Driscoll says.
Yeah, pretty much the same thing. So,
do you use the Berkeley products on the Nico?
Yeah, Magnum Hitworm.
The Mag Hitworm on the Nico.
Yep. So, and just fish it the same way as you do a shaky head.
So what's interesting to me about that question is I always assume when you go to the Nico rig, a lot of guys were using the Cinco. Mr. David Aldridge, who is in the behind us right here, fishes a lot of Lanier and Gunnersville. He showed me the trick using a trick worm from Zoom, basically, or something similar like that. I did not realize that the Nico was probably more effective using a worm that's not a Cinco. So you're saying you use like the Berkeley, the MaxScent?
Yeah,
products?
I mix it up, but the Magnum Hitworm is my favorite one.
The Mag Hitworm.
Yeah, and I mean, if I'm Tennessee River ledge fishing, I throw the plum color.
Plum.
Yeah, something red. Works really good on the Tennessee River ledge fishing. Like it's
like at Chick? Would that work at Chick?
Oh, absolutely. It's just got
That's been a staple for a long time.
It's called Blue Fleck is the color.
Listen, Blue Fleck. I got some at the shop, but the last time I went to Chick, everybody told me, again, it's some of the crowd around here at Lanier said, throw Morning Dawn and all that. You're saying the Blue Fleck.
Well, they'll eat a lot of stuff.
Thing.
The Morning Dawn,
It's kind of the same principle. Like on a drop shot, that Morning Dawn worm on the Tennessee River is a staple. 6-inch straight tail robo worm.
So that's what I need next time I go up to Chick.
If it's really tough, I hate throwing that dang thing. I'd rather wind a hair jig around.
I got you. So have I missed any questions right there? Because I want to get these guys. We're about an hour 42 in it. Which one? Kaz bought his first graph from Emil years ago. Michael Anderson, appreciate the comment.
I literally forgot about that till he just brought it up. I sold you, an HDS 8?
An HDS 7.
That's what it was. It was on my old Skeeter.
Yep, and it was a
100% forgot.
How much? $300.
Did you give him a deal?
Like
Did you give him a deal?
I gave you a deal on it. Yeah.
Yeah, it was $300. Well, I mean, we were tight. We were in the parking lot in Kentucky Lake.
Yeah.
You brought it up, and we were at the national championship, and I bought it because I had for my first boat, a 96 Bass Cat Pantera.
Yeah.
Got it from a guy up in Dahlonega.
Ain't that something? What are you still in that boat from what's his name that you bought?
Wheeler. No, I just got a Phoenix.
You just got a Phoenix. You had Wheeler's old boat.
Yeah, I had that.
When you and I fished it with each other, that was Wheeler's boat.
Yep.
Okay, I remember that. Connor Hewitt. That is funny. It's amazing that these guys go back a lot farther than what you think right here. Kind of here, right there. Do you think a shaky head is pretty dominant on a herring lake year round?
Yeah.
Or is it spots or is it herring?
Honestly, yeah, year round you catch them on it. Like depth of the summer, you still catch them on it, but they're so keyed in on herring and feeding up top. Like, it's not as big of a factor, but literally fall through late spring. I mean, you can win tournaments on a shaky head, like year round. It's as simple as it gets. Like there's no secrets. That's just what they eat.
That's what they eat.
You have to find the right place to throw it, obviously.
So pull up shop life right there, going down a little bit. Scent supplying like deer here and covers the scent. I think that's as well. On shaky heads, do you guys prefer a screw lock or a thread through? Hookup ratio affected by the screw lock. So a lot of the guys come here, they complain about screw locks being too long, and a lot of them will take a pair of snips, cut the screw lock down a little bit because they feel like it gives them a little more area to set the hook. Mm-hmm. Do you make any adjustment whatsoever on these screw locks?
I don't throw a screw. I throw the thread throughs.
You throw a thread through?
Yeah, so it's the Berkeley Fusion, or they don't make it anymore, but before the Berkeley Fusion shaky head, I threw the skip gap. They called it the Gamakatsu skip gaps.
Yeah.
They don't make those anymore. Those solid shaky head, for me, there's really not much difference in the two. The Berkeley has a little bit beefier hook.
Right.
So I do like that a little bit because I like to throw a stiffer spinning rod.
Yeah.
And anytime I can get away with a bigger hook, I like that one.
I got you. Okay.
But, yeah.
What about you, Emil? I'm telling you what, I'm looking for the. At one time, I looked and they had the skip gap mold for guys that want to pour.
Yeah.
But all of a sudden, I don't know if whoever came in and said no, that's illegal. But I can't find them. I'm looking for one of those. But what about you? Screw lock? No screw lock? What?
Yeah, same deal as Kaz. I like a thread through. I think when you hook one on a screw lock too, it's kind of like some guys will throw their fluke with a screw lock on the front on like EWG.
Yeah.
Just balls up.
It balls up like when you hook one and doesn't allow the plastic to get out of the way of the hook. So on a thread through, it just lets the plastic go wherever it wants. On a screw lock, it's stuck on there. So if that plastic needs to move a certain way to hook the fish, that's not going to happen. I think you lose/miss more fish with a screw lock. So I've gotten away from it.
All right. So, again, Tim will pull through the comments. I wanted to talk about forward-facing sonar, but we've had so many questions that we just fly through with the questions. So this is what the guys want to know. But I want to ask you, Emil, what is the biggest mistake that a lot of guys make with forward-facing sonar as far as either how to fish, what they're looking at, whether it's the setup? What's the biggest mistake the average angler makes that, in your opinion, that could help them be a bigger angler, a better angler?
There's a lot of them, honestly. I do so many trips. I get to see guys that clearly don't have a lot of experience with it. And I can kind of tell pretty quick, like if you see a guy using it, even looking at someone else's boat, if his foot leaves that pedal, he's probably not great with it, just being totally honest. Like,
for sure.
You've got to be on it the whole time. Like, you've got to know what you're looking at. You got to track it. It's a lot of micro adjustments as you're fishing. And it's that. And I mean, you see guys go out there and they'll pull up on a spot and they'll see fish and they'll just sit there and fish for a group of 3 fish forever, thinking they're going to bite. It's like, pull up. If they're going to bite, they're going to bite. Fish around the area, blah, 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 and get out of there. And then a lot of times, I mean, I think people go out there and mess with it, but they don't. You got to go out there and put a bunch of time into it. Because like when I know Kaz sees one at 60 feet at a weird angle right there, like I've used it enough now. I can pretty much flick out there and hit them first try. So putting your time in with it, like you got to go out there. The first year I had it, I hated it. Like, I don't know
really?
Why. Yeah, because I just like everyone else, you throw at fish and it's like, this is frustrating. I just want to throw out there and hope pretty much.
Right.
But once you get dialed in with it, I mean, again, the biggest tip I can give anyone with live scope, and it's going to sound like a runaround answer, but is just to put your time with it. Like go out there and just use it all day. Don't focus on catching fish. Just see, how'd that fish react? Oh, that was a striper. Oh, there's a vertical stack of them. I figured out that's crappy because the last 4 times I've thrown at a group like that, I haven't got bit. Yeah. And then keep your settings around the same, keep your range about the same, keep your depth about the same. And you'll learn what different things look like. You'll learn, what a striper is, what a bass is, what fish on the bottom look like. There's there's not one good answer to that, but if you just put time in with it, you're going to get good with it over time.
So a lot of guys don't put the time in. You think they put more time in?
Yeah.
Okay, good answer. What about you, Cass?
Cover the bases. For me, my biggest thing whenever a lot of my guide trips, I see a lot of people that are just tied into, they see fish on it and they can't make them bite, and they'll sit there and spend a lot of time trying to make those fish bite. For me, it's as simple as if I make a cast at a fish and if I can tell that he saw my bait and he didn't bite it, that's the only chance I give him. I stay on the move. Keep my foot on the trolling motor, constantly panning around, looking for fish. And you can basically tell, like I'll see some that are bass and some that aren't, and you can tell whether they're going to bite or not or what species they are based on their movement, and that just all comes with time and learning and
just put the time
trial
in.
and error. Yeah,
put the time in.
Yep.
Okay, that makes sense.
I can sit there if you're on a guide trip with me. I can sit and tell you all day, and you may get it for the time that we're out there on the water, but afterwards, when you go to do it by yourself, it is kind of tough. You just have to, stay on the water and pick through it.
Absolutely. So Connor Hewitt wants to know, Emil, we'll start off with you. Do you think you can still catch them looking for them deep on the LVS 32 on the basic LVS 32 setup?
Yeah, absolutely. I had the 32 for years. Again, the reason you're not, or, if you're looking for a reason you're not doing as good with live scope, it's not your graph. It's not the 32 versus the 34. It might be wiring and your battery. If you have to get that stuff straight before anything else. I should have said that earlier.
Yeah.
If you don't have at least 12.5 volts, if you don't have good straight gauge wiring, all that stuff in place, you're behind the ball. So as long as you want to at least start off with that good baseline, but no, the 32 is great. I had it for a while. I know a guy who still had it up until like a month ago because he swore by it. The 34, I think, is just a hair more detailed. I think it separates brush and fish, structure and fish a little bit better.
Right.
But yeah, you'll be fine with the 32.
Perfect. What about you, Cass?
Yeah, it's definitely 34 is better, but it's not 100% necessary. Like, it's not the end all be all. Your battery setup, the way the transducer sits on the trolling motor is a huge deal, and just having your settings dialed in on your graph and with that, caught thousands of fish with the 32.
Well, let me ask you, what is some mistakes that the average guy makes on his settings?
So when you really sit down and think about, when Garmin and Lowrance are different.
They are.
Lowrance doesn't have near the settings that a Garmin does. But so on a Garmin, there's so many different options, and the main ones are gain, which is Lowrance's word for sensitivity or contrast. And then you have your color palettes, obviously, and then you have TVG and noise rejection. Time variance gain is TVG.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have your noise rejection. So when you think about noise rejection, a lot of people keep that on high because it gives them a clear picture. You'll have a clear black screen. That is the worst mistake you could ever make. You want your noise rejection off or on low for me. This time of year with the pollen, sometimes you can put it on medium or high because the pollen is putting off noise in the water. It's stuff bouncing off those molecules pretty much if you really want to get technical about it. So I leave mine on low or off all the time. And noise, fish put off noise, baits put off noise. You're going to be able to see stuff way better because it's not rejecting the noise that is coming off fish or your bait or things like that. So you do get a lot of interference technically, but in the end, you're going to see 10 times more when your stuff is cranked up and you're able to get returns off stuff that you normally wouldn't if you're trying to get the clear picture on a Garmin or a Lowrance. So like noise rejection and TVG, like if somebody's picture doesn't look the way they want, there's, and Garmin's come factory set noise reject on high, TVG on medium or high, and it just looks super grainy. The background is super clear. Fish look like they're moving super slow, and the image is just delayed as a whole. But when you turn it down to off or low, it fixes all the problems. So that's just that's the basic overview. There's a bunch of little minor tweaks here and there that come with the updates on graphs and this and that. We could talk all night. But the main deal is don't reject the noise that is coming from the fish and the bait, and you're going to see a whole lot more.
Okay, perfect. So Palms 353 right there. Got a couple more questions, guys. We're almost done for the night, so going to try to get a couple more questions for these guys. They work for a living, so we got to get them home. Do y'all both only run Garmin, or do you run other units for mapping, etc.? And I'll start with you, Cass.
I have Lowrance as my base, and on my last boat, I had all 3 brands. I don't fish in college, so I fished in college, and I fished a lot of college tournaments. They're definitely all 3 brands. Humminbird, Lowrance, and Garmin have stuff to offer. I run Garmin for forward facing, Lowrance for everything else right now.
Right.
Humminbird has awesome mapping and side scan. That's the only 2 benefits I found for having a Humminbird, but Lowrance, just as far as just a unit to use, if I had to pick one, it would have to be Lowrance. But for forward facing sonar, I'm running Garmin.
Okay, makes sense. What about you, Emil?
So
he's talking to his girlfriend on text right now. She said, "When are you going to be home, Emil?"
No, so I run all 3. I got 2 Lowrances for waypoint management. That's the biggest thing with them. I think I've said this before, but on those Lowrances, with as much offshore fishing as I do everywhere I go, I mean, it doesn't matter if I'm Eufaula, Chick, Lanier, Hartwell, I'm running around marking stuff all day in practice. I can go on that Lowrance, beep, beep, change the icon and name it fresh brush, 10 fish in it, whatever. I can type all that out, change the symbol, make the waypoint in 15 seconds. It takes me a lot longer on my Helix. Again, that's a cheaper unit.
Right.
I'm sure with a Solix or something, it wouldn't be as bad, but it takes way longer on that Helix. And you add that up throughout a day, it becomes an issue. So I do that on my Lowrance. I use my Lowrance for down scan too. It's got really good down scan. I run the side scan transducers for the Humminbird and the Lowrance. I have each one at my console. The Hummingbird's on there for side scan, and the Lake Master. I'll never have a boat without Lake Master. That stuff, it's the best map by far. I mean, I have the C-Map chip in my Lowrance and the Lake Master, and I can look at both of them, and everything pops way better on that Lake Master. I can see a spot, catch fish on it, see what it sets up like, and go find 10 more like it on that Lake Master because the way it just shows contour and color. And then Garmin for forward facing.
Okay. So 2 more questions right here that I see before we call it a night. Jordan Cooper right there. What do you mean by how the transducer is mounted on a trolling motor? Too high, too low? I guess that probably is from a comment that we were talking about earlier, Kaz.
So depth that your transducer in the water is a big deal. You don't want it down too low. And a lot of people mount their live scope transducers on the trolling motor head, like where the propeller turns on the actual lower unit of the trolling motor. That's probably the worst mistake you could ever make. You get so much interference like that.
Okay.
I always keep mine mounted on the shaft. There's a bunch of different mounts. Fish Obsessed makes good ones. The ones that come stock work just fine. Those are kind of some of the things that, may make or break your live scope setup. So I don't go into full detail on all that, but as far as just don't have it on your trolling motor head. Keep it on the shaft. Don't run it super deep in the water. Keep it pretty high. That's basically what I meant by that.
Very good. Shop life right there. So we're going to do 2 more questions. Clint Bartlett says you like it on the shaft. Oh, Clint.
No.
Oh, Clint. That's listen, it's not me, it's the people who I hang around. That's all I gotta say. Shop life right there. Yeah, I know, right there. Shop life. 2 more questions. We're gonna call it a night, or 2 or 3 right there. So what setting do you play with to see your bait and your lure better? Please share. Reset my 34 and can't get it back to where it was. Either one of you guys.
Just reset it to your factory defaults. Was the best thing. It'll undo anything that you might have done that might have tweaked it the way it didn't need to be. Noise rejects, low or off. TVG, low or off. Gain around anywhere from 65 to 72, 73. And I like the color scheme. Lava is my favorite one.
Okay, what about you there, Emil?
Kaz hit the nail on the head. Same exact deal. I use amber and blue. If it's cloudy, I like blue. If it's sunny, I like amber.
Perfect. Let's see. What are your thoughts on the Hydro Wave? Either one of you guys.
Never used it, but I kind of wish I had one.
Okay.
I'm curious. Like, there's sometimes you see them in brush and they're not active. I wonder if you turn it on, if it'd get them to
just something to fire them up.
Eat your bait like closer to the boat or something.
Yeah, it could be one of those tools that nobody talks about that makes a difference.
I got you. Can we get some clarification on the Lake Harris question, Emil? I don't remember what that was.
That's my buddy Jared. He asked earlier. We were on Harris Chain, and there was a big wet field that we were all parking in for the college championship, and I pulled in there with my rear-wheel drive Ram and got stuck in the middle of everything and was slinging mud everywhere. And then it was like right when scope had become big, and like I guess they all thought I was good with it. And one of his buddies came up and was like, "Didn't see that one coming on live scope." They'll never live it down.
I got you right there. So again, going down the last few questions, we're going to call night. Tatum Pruitt says, "Hey, Daddy, that is my daughter, the official CEO of Fish North Georgia." Guys, she's available. I'm just telling you both right there. You know, you two guys I could see as a son-in-law one day, but, you know, whatever. I'm just throwing that out there. You know,
Kaz at your Thanksgiving dinner.
She's a nurse. She makes a good amount of money as a nurse. So just keep that in mind, Kaz, both of you, Emil, if things don't work out with you. Last question of the night, color gain with a question mark from Shop Life. Emil.
Almost. I ran it on default for a while. I still go back to default sometimes, but really, really clear water scenarios, sometimes I'll get in there manual and crank it up, but usually just run it on default.
How about you, Cass?
Same
default?
Yeah.
All right, guys. So listen, we're about 2 hours in. These guys work for a living, but I want to go ahead and say this, make sure I got it on the record. Had a lot of great guests on our show. Two of my favorite by far is Emil and Kaz. Number one, because they're young. They make me feel young when they come in, but they give great answers. If somebody wants to book a trip with you on Lake Chautauqua or Lanier or whatever, how can they reach you?
828-644-4392 is my phone number, and fishchautauqua.com is my website, or just DM me on social media.
Emil?
Yeah, my phone number is the best one. I haven't checked my guide email in months, which is a major problem. So if you want to book a trip, definitely text or call me 404-775-0462. I'm on the road a lot now, so if you do want to book one, get with me now and let's get one on the books, because they're starting to book up for the summer. But yeah, here's incredible. So would love to have anyone that wants to go.
It is. One last question for both of you, and we're going to call it a night. Avery Hammock Outdoors, because I don't recognize this name. New guy. What's your pre-tournament ritual? Taking naps with cats on a garage couch or whatever? Do you have or superstitions?
Yeah, that's my buddy again. He's just messing with me. We had
you like cats?
After a big tournament in Milledgeville, we went downtown and it got sideways and I fell asleep in their garage on a couch with a cat. And,
with a cat?
Yeah.
Okay, what about you, Cat? Anything pre-ritual?
But no, that's not my pre-tournament ritual. A Celsius in the morning on the way to the ramp. That's it
right there. What about you?
Same. Any energy drink and usually some old like hardcore AC/DC, some kind of rock.
80s rock, baby.
Yeah, something to get me going, and yeah, that's pretty much about it.
Perfect. Well, listen, I want to tell you two guys, though, listen, anytime I can get you two on the show, I love it. Y'all make me feel a little bit younger, but you guys are really smart. You're into, the new technology. But you're good enough anglers that you can utilize the old technology, the old ways of fishing and all that. So I'm really impressive. I can't wait to see you guys at the next TAA tournament. But both of you guys, sideways is an understatement. So you had a little fun there, right there, Emil. So We've all had them days, until you wake up in a ditch and your dad's waking you up. You guys don't know nothing. I've been there. But that's a true story.
That was a rough one.
True story like that. So, but again, I want to thank both of you guys for coming out, sharing some info. You got a lot of great information tonight. But again, you guys keep up with these two guys on social media. It's great for me as an older guy to watch these young guys that have taken some time to spend a part of their life with us and watching them grow as anglers. So Emil and Kaz, again, best wishes for the future. Look forward to watching what you guys do in life and appreciate you guys coming out tonight.
Anytime.
It is always a pleasure when you two guys come. I hope you get a lot of Becky's in your life. I hope you get some Becky's. I don't know if you're aware of the Becky's, but that's a big girl.
If they're big bass.
Big bass.
Kaz. You did hear about before that tournament, the name and all that. What's your name? Actual name?
Oh, Caswell.
Caswell.
Dude, listen, he said Caswell, and I didn't Caswell, and I'm like, who the hell is?
Didn't know who he was.
It took forever to get my name right. That was my only complaint to Alan. Is
You're
they
telling
never have
me.
my name
Yeah,
right.
like
Yeah.
Connor
We
Garrett.
both have terrible
Mine's worse,
pronunciation names.
Connor Garrett. I'm not trying to hoe out my daughter. He put that in the comment section. Listen, I've got two guys right here that are quality. They're quality guys right there. So listen, I'm just trying to find a good lifelong partner for my daughter. I love her and these two. But I actually, listen, seriously, in all honesty, I really do like these guys. Ask who Miss Becky is. Listen, we're not going to get the actual name of Miss Becky, but if you go back and watch the last time Kaz was on Jordan Lee, we talked about Becky a lot. But
Book
again,
a trip with him and he'll tell you all about
book a
it.
trip, and
I like
Kaz,
the way you think.
Kaz will tell you who Becky is. So, hey, listen, guys, seriously, in all honesty, both you two guys, I love it every time you come up here. Appreciate you guys. Wish you guys the best success in the future. Book a trip with them. Book a trip with these guys. And again, we appreciate them. We appreciate you guys. You guys make the show. It's never about me. It's about my guests, and it's about the comment section right there. And you guys are absolutely freaking awesome every Thursday night. So next week, we've got Rob Jordan. He was another guy that finished in the top 12 on the TAA. And I'm looking forward to the day when I can tell you a little more information about the next Touring Anglers Association tournament. It's going to be big, guys. So you guys have a great week. If you're on the water this weekend, be safe. Enjoy your time out there and outdoors. We will see you on the next Livewell. You guys have a great weekend.